people in the boxes. Never gets old. I tried that a few times to get that nice deep voice. Welcome. I don't know if I like this, guys. I don't like this. What's up, everybody? Jason, I'll fix you in a little bit here. Give me a second.
I'll angle the camera better.
He's like, I'll stay off the side. What's up, everybody? We got people in the boxes, episode 97. 97 already. It is June 6, 2024, everybody. Bring them on in. Bring them in. This should be fun. It could go a lot of ways, actually. We kind of do this once a month now, a sort of current events, not just news, not just pop culture, current events with each other. Like, what's happening? What do you got going on? What do you have to deal with right now? All of it really under the sun, but there is a lot of actual pop culture stuff going on, a lot of crazy like movie news and different things coming out with lots of like people on both sides of in the movie industry. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening. And of course, if you don't know about People in the Boxes, we do this every Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central Time. And it's all about bringing people together, other creators on the screen, other co-hosts, and also people like you guys that want to listen and maybe share your own, not just opinions, but your own experience on whatever subject we're talking about. Last week was a bit of a heavy subject. We talked trauma, and it kind of went in different directions. And we talked physical, like blunt trauma. We've talked emotional trauma. It was a good one. So today we're going to get into some different things, but we got Jason with us here, and I think let's see if I can fix this here somewhere. Let's see if I can do this. No, I don't like that either.
I don't know what's going on with it. It's weird that it won't fit us all in there like it did.
It's
that
need one more person.
Jason was funny.
We need one more person, or maybe I could just turn my camera. Let me see. Actually, the camera, I don't think it moves on its own, unfortunately. Well, guys, make sure you hit that like button and share us out with your friends. Go check out all of our locations right now that we're live. We're on X, we're on Rumble, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch. For some reason, I can still do that on a couple shows. And we're on Facebook, of course. So let's get it going. We're going to put you on a wheel for the liking and sharing and such. I see a lot of people hanging out already. Go check out that Rumble. Rumble's actually doing pretty good. They actually changed it around. I think it's like all these platforms pay attention to each other, obviously, and as soon as one of them does something that works, it's like they all sort of jump on the wagon. It's funny. So how's it going, Kim? What's up? How are you? I know you're hot.
God, it's friggin' miserable. 7 o'clock at night, and it's 96 degrees outside still. It's 80 degrees in my house because friggin' air conditioner's not working right.
That's what you were talking about. Yeah, air conditioners right now, man. Oh, I need to fix that. I'm going to shut my fan off. This
61 degrees here right now. So.
61. Do you even get a summer up there? What's going on? Let's go back.
Yeah, I was in a hoodie all day. We had a high of 70 degrees all day. Beautiful.
Jason?
You had a hoodie on?
Jason?
Yeah?
Fuck you.
I knew that was coming.
You want to come and visit, Kim?
Do you know what the temps were here today?
What's that?
Take a guess at the high temperature today.
G-Lo, what's up
there? I would say 106.
G-Lo
You missed it by a mile, honey.
Yeah.
116.
I feel like he missed it by 10 degrees. G-Lo, I see you over there on X, man. I'm going to put the link over in our group chat if anybody would like to come up. And I'm going to put the link on the Facebook side, of course. You want to see some lovely friends, come on up and hang out, even if it's for a few minutes.
Speaking of local news, was it X that I seen in the news this week about posting stuff about Nazis and some other shit? There are a lot of Nazi posts and hate speech and all of this over there right now.
Oh no, they're going to be attacked relentlessly for allowing free speech. Is going to be the problem. You're going to see like some visceral, just the most. I mean, you already do. You see it on the platform. You see people that just hate Elon Musk because he's letting those people that I don't like talk. And that's what, and it's like people got to realize that if you want the freedom to speak yourself, then you have to be able to hear things you don't like. That's the fact. That's what this show's about, really.
Yeah, there was a lot of this week was a lot of about hate speech over there.
Yeah, well,
a lot of ads were advertising from wow, a lot of different ones. They said there was Ku Klux Klan ads.
Probably from Russia. Like, there's going to be like, that's the battleground right now. Like, Facebook is one. Facebook is very, very censored. It's very censored. X is kind of a wild west because Elon Musk is not the be all, and he doesn't know how to run everything perfectly. But what he's doing is sort of like shooting from the hip on some things where he's like, well, let's just try this. And then it's like, boom. And just like the algorithm changes a little bit will let people exploit it in all sorts of ways. And so it's kind of fun. It's fun. Things change.
He was in Australia. Here it was. Elon Musk was in Australia this last week. And it has stirred all types of hate speech, freedom of speech.
Australia has also been doxxed by Facebook. Not doxxed, what was the word? Facebook in Australia had like threatened them to shut off because Facebook is basically almost all of their infrastructure on the communication. And this was a while back, but they threatened to just, we'll just shut you off if you don't do what we say, basically. So yeah, I could see that kind of being a connection there because maybe Australia is using X more now than they were. Who knows? There's always something. These interests are fighting each other so hardcore behind the scenes that the littlest thing is just.
The Australia one, it's under Australia's safety law. It's what the problem is. There's a bunch of things streaming on Facebook that Australia is saying is not safe, and it goes against Australia's safety law.
You mean X or Facebook?
So, Facebook. Facebook, okay. X, all of them are.
Oh, that's
but
what.
X actually won. Yeah, X actually won the lawsuit, saying, or the judge shut it down. Was like, no, Australia, sorry. This is what they show.
I don't see it much, but I know there's still bad stuff there too. I just think that Facebook is very bad for
the American company has agreed to hide the videos from Australian users, but it will not block them and take it down. So they wanted a worldwide block is what Australia wanted.
Wow. It's really weird how all the countries are
talking about churches in Sydney, violent and illegal activity going on in Australia, blah, blah, blah. Basically, just anything that paints Australia is a bad place. They want a worldwide block on it.
That's censorship.
Come on up.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the issue is that Australia, no offense to our Australian friends, we have several, that they are living in a much more, censored country than we are. They don't have the right to own arms and weapons.
One cannabis seed is 10 years in prison or life in prison, something like that. It's considered a full-blown cannabis plant. One seed.
I gotta believe there's some like weird, crazy thing in the bush down there they could lick, some toad or some shit, just be like right there behind in the backyard. Can't imagine.
I think they change. I think you can sell cannabis seeds over there now. I don't know exactly what the restrictions. I don't know if it
in certain parts of Canada or in certain parts of Australia you can.
Okay, so there
is Sydney has a small little area that is. I think they said 75,000 people, 65,000 people where cannabis is legal in that small area.
Wow.
And it's starting to branch out. But so they do have medical cannabis, but it's very small amounts is what you get prescribed. Ryan was prescribed 0.3 grams a day. That's not half gram. That's less than a half gram a day is what he was prescribed.
Wow.
So I gotta wonder about their pharmaceutical industry then, because that must be rocking, because people you have to have something for all the things that cannabis can replace. So like there must be some, pill
Oh,
companies
speak with
going
one of
crazy.
our brothers right there. Right there is Mick.
Mick, hello.
Yeah, and he's from Australia right there.
Well, there's a will, there's a way. He's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very, it's kind of like California is. People think California is all these big cities, and there's big cities in California to be sure, but it's a very rural state.
Yeah.
It's hard to police all of that. I remember when I lived out there in Sacramento, um, they had a problem with these. I don't know if they were cartel or exactly what they were, but people that were from Mexico that had big grows out in the forests and stuff. So, yeah,
Brian's from Perth, Brenda.
and it's hard to police all that.
It's Western Australia.
I wasn't sure if she was talking about where because Kim had answered right after she said when she lived there, and then she said Sacramento. So I'm not sure if that's what Brenda was looking at, but either way, guys, if you're out there, you want to come up, hang out, come on up. I'm going to look up some things here. I mean, I said this before we went on air, but I'll say it again. If you guys, if anyone out there wants to come up and they end up bringing up politics, just be prepared for people to disagree with you. Period. If you want to talk about it,
I was reading something today. That they are talking about the whole rescheduling thing, and
that's a dream. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I know. I was reading through the article. It was through, I think, Marijuana Times or something like that. And
topless.
The person that heads that is not pro cannabis.
Of course not.
And they haven't come out as saying that they're pro cannabis. This whole thing is being pressed by the Biden administration, and I'm just curious to see what's going to happen if he doesn't win re-election, where everything goes with the rescheduling. But the article was talking about that it's not going to be soon that all happens. It's at least a year away from
3 years.
Yeah, that's all just for votes. That's just for people.
Yep. Right now we are at 3 years, and that is if the first year of the new presidency does not reverse everything that the Biden presidency has done. And we all know anybody from the age of 20 to the age of 80 knows the very first thing that presidents do when they get elected is reverse so many things that the past president did. It's automatic. They sit right there and they sign and they sign and they sign and they sign. I'm not saying they sign good things, bad things. Whatever they do, they do. That's their right.
I don't know, man. The norm is out the window now. I think what you're saying is definitely going to happen either way, but I think it's going to be to like the 100th degree, no matter what. Like talking 4 or 5, talk 10 years from now, if we're still around, it's kind of like when you start to get off balance and you try to catch yourself and you get more off balance until you just anyway, let's not be too I like to look at older countries and I think, okay, yeah, maybe they've completely changed, but it's still there, there's still people there, you know what I mean? Like, look at France, look at some of these old, countries that you think are probably just, neither here nor there, but they're still here, at least. I'd like to think that some things will live on that we've created, but who knows?
There's a possibility, because the whole Farm Bill thing, I've been kind of following that off and on.
Me too.
There's a lot of revisions and there's a lot of stuff, and it may be where it's no longer legal to sell cannabis seeds anymore. I mean, that is in jeopardy as well.
They're going to want to control it, I think, themselves. I think what ultimately will happen is it will become a pharmaceutical that look at tobacco. No one's growing tobacco in their backyard. I think that's illegal. I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
Kentucky.
You can in Kentucky.
We looked it up. There's Kentucky. There's a couple southern states that you're able to. We looked it up the other day, actually, because the process of tobacco leaves, it's a very skilled and interesting process on how to dry the tobacco leaves, how to hang them, the smell of it and everything. It's so, but no, we did look it up the other day.
Yeah, I could imagine like some random, some people doing making the twists, the old tobacco twist. It's illegal there, Mick.
Yeah. One thing that I did read this week, and I think it's a major step in the right direction, is it has come out that marijuana terpenes are as effective as morphine for pain relief and have fewer side effects.
Yeah.
Really?
Now, this is from the FDA in Science and Health magazine. Like, that is a huge step. Morphine is a very addictive pain reliever. Very addictive. So one of them things, and they're saying that terpenes and marijuana have the same effect. That right there could be astronomical. We're just touching the tip, just getting started dabbling with terpenes.
What's the tip?
You used to, a couple of years ago, everybody's like, oh, what's the THC count? What's the THC count? How much THC is in it? Now I want to know what the terpene profile is.
Yeah.
What's the strongest terpene profile? What's it taste like? Has it got myrcene in it? What is, a lot of people have their favorite terpene now.
Dude, you can smell myrcene. Myrcene has a distinctive scent to it. Like I grew mango last year. Season before last, 2 years ago, I grew mango. And mango, I think one of the top terps in mango is myrcene. And oh my gosh, anytime I smell, now I can identify myrcene. And I'm not an indica smoker, which indica typically is, myrcene is usually found in indica plants, but I can smell, I love the smell. It smells nice. It's got a really
When's the last time you smoked, Kim?
I smoked earlier this week.
Do you smoke flower, or have you tried these like carts and stuff that we do now with the?
I do both, but I prefer flower.
Joe Kelly, what's up, man? Tangy and blueberry headband. I will buy no matter the percent. Interesting.
Stuff that I smoked earlier this week was Tangy. I like Tangy.
My sister's name's No, it's Angie. Never mind. I need to figure out what strains work best for me for sure. Yesterday, I was looking into a couple things on my show last night, talking about what was it? I'll pull up the story again, but it had to do with students or the loss of kids going to school, or no, what was it? The percentage of enrollees. Say again.
Mick's taking off. I was just.
Oh, have a good night, Mick. It had to do with the fact that legal states are actually attracting more college kids. The kids, if they're going to go to school, they decide to go to a legal state if they can.
Yep.
I was saying though, yeah, but I don't think that's going to last. If most states go legal, then the kid, say a kid that wants to go to college, they don't look at I need to go to this other state because it's legal there.
Okay.
They'll just be
so now let's look at this. Let me be a devil's advocate, kind of push a little bit here. In the 80s and 90s, motorcycles are loud, sorry. In the 80s and 90s, how many students chose where they were going to go to college because of a partying school? A place that they were going to be able to party, that they heard, oh man, this place has some fucking.
Yeah, but you have those inside your state most of the time. Unless you're looking for like the Ivy League or something. I don't know.
I know Chico State is known to be a party college.
I know when I was looking into colleges, when I had scholarship opportunities, I was like, oh, that's a fucking dorky ass college. I'm good. I don't even care if that scout's here or not. I was looking at colleges that were big at partying. Like when Michigan State came, like Michigan State is a known partying campus. Like when them scouts came to look at us, it was like, okay, I'm gonna step it up a little bit. But
I've heard of Michigan State too, for sure.
what's that?
I've heard Michigan State having that rep.
I used to party. We burned couches just for fun. It was whether we won or lost, we were burning the couch.
Reminds me of Mattress Girl. Remember that story of the girl that carried a mattress around for a while and it ended up being false? All these false accusations of things all the time, you know? It's because people know they can get away with it. Like that's a whole trope in movies. The person that's trying to get like a lawsuit happening or whatever. Like that's literally like a consistent, you know, comical trope. You ever see that movie? Was it Rat Race or the American Race or whatever? Like all the people had to like go across the country without telling anyone why, and like if they got there, they made all this money and stuff. It was like I think it was Seth Green or somebody.
Yeah,
they were literally trying to.
Bean was in it.
The airport.
Bean was in it.
Yes, Mr. Bean, such a weird,
Mr. Bean is in it. Such a great character, though. Yeah. Such a great actor.
My son loves him because of the nonverbal. Yeah, my son actually really loves him.
Average day Joe couldn't do that.
I think special needs kids like those kind of things. He likes not just Mr. Bean, but any show.
Have you shown him Gallagher yet?
No, but you mean like the comic act where he's smashing
watermelon pumpkins and everything and the watermelons? That's fucking great.
Yeah. I haven't thought of Gallagher in a while. He must be getting up there. He's got to be like
Gallagher. I went to one of Gallagher's shows back when I was a kid. I went with my uncle, and it was I don't remember any of the jokes, but just the pumpkins, all the fruit being smashed, everything. It was a great experience.
But he had he wasn't nonverbal. Like he had his like
but still little kids
really tell jokes.
Getting done on stage with adults all around and everything.
You gotta hold up the
plastic and
I don't know why, but it reminds me of the hockey rink locally. It used to have a net up to keep the pucks from hitting anyone.
You didn't have glass protective?
No. This was like the upper. So what happened what had happened was they used to give you a puck that during the halftime show you could throw the puck down onto the rink, and whoever got it closest to the there was a spotlight. They had one light on in the center, and so whichever numbered puck got closest to that would win a prize, right? Well, there was this situation where somebody threw the puck just straight down to the back of someone else's head right in front of them instead of out onto the rink. And can you imagine getting hit without knowing it's coming, not even thinking about it coming, the back of your head with a puck? Pucks are not light.
Yeah. Well, I think people have been killed by getting hit by pucks at hockey events. So
many street events, street hockey events and everything. That was a danger one.
So I don't know how much movie stuff you guys pay attention to, but there's like a lot of controversy with this Star Wars thing coming out, the Acolyte. Anybody watching anything about that?
Yep. I'm a Star Wars fan. I've watched them all.
So
plus all the Disney Plus ones.
So there's like this controversy, and I don't care if you're gay or not, but one of the actors is coming out saying, "Oh, this is the queerest Star Wars ever, and we're trying to make it as clear as possible." It's like, should that be the focus? Like, I don't know. Does it seem like there's some sort of like a inner struggle happening within these industries, like looking at some of these big titles, and I think it's partly because of how long it goes. So Star Wars is an old franchise, right? So I think what's happening is we're spanning generations of people within these industries still trying to hold up, quote, titles that we think of as when we were kids. And it's just, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think you can expect that to happen. A lot of fans are upset. I get it. They want their old Star Wars back, but I mean, I don't know how upset I am. I don't look at the like I've heard other people talking about it on Twitter, and I think for the most part, it lost me a long time ago. There was a lot of garbage stuff coming out from Star Wars in the last few years. And so it's just really neither here nor there for me. But it's just funny that the actors are making these comments on some of these interviews they're doing. And one of the actors is now, I forget the guy. It was a black guy. I don't know what his name is in the movie, or it's a series, I think. But he has now said twice, and I don't know how nerdy we want to get. I talked about it, I think, was it last night? But the dude said twice that Anakin blows up the Death Star. Now, if anyone at all seen any Star Wars, you know that's not right. Without being a crazy like detail nerd on everything about the whole thing, it's like his son does that. Like that's a whole different string of movies. Like, and so it was one thing that a lot of fans were jumping on. And that's what actually, I don't know if you saw the post I made, Jason. I screenshotted my my reply on X because this guy named Nerd Roddick, he does a lot of pop culture stuff. Did you see this? It was so funny. It's like, I just thought, it just came to my mind, a little REO Speedwagon, and I was like, all right, let's do this. And then it just blew up. It was crazy.
No.
Wait, that's not REO, is it? Fuck. Anyway, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I like movies. Been around since movies were huge in the 80s and 90s. Movie theaters, all of it. Drive-in theaters basically already died off, but VHS tapes, Blockbuster, Hollywood Video. Friday night, you would go with your parents to the video store. You would rent a couple movies all weekend long. We see our franchise movies. We've seen several of them come back. Several of them are into, what is the ones now? Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious is at what, 10, 11, 12, 15. 13 now? It's done. How many times can you do the same thing? But they're still a billion-dollar franchise.
So they're never going to leave it alone. They
Star Wars. Yeah. I'm sorry, they have to be close to $1 trillion. They got to be $1 billion.
Yeah, but they're losing money every time they make a movie now. So it's just.
Do you really think they're losing money? Is that a company that could lose money?
I mean, I guess you have merchandising. I mean, companies definitely can go under. I mean, unless they file for like, hey, government, give me some money because we're too big to fail or whatever.
Okay. So now let's go back to the 80s. The people that watched Star Wars were nerds and geeks.
I was not a nerd and a geek.
Yes, you still are.
Think about it. People that went to Comic-Con were weird.
You know what?
You went to a Comic-Con? What is a Comic-Con? What do you mean you're going and celebrating being what? That was weird. Now it's the norm. Now we're getting new generations that Comic-Cons are huge. So they're getting all these younger kids. They're getting new people to watch their show that know nothing at all about the ones from the 70s.
Right.
They don't know any of that.
Well, look at our cartoons.
You know these new ones.
You know what? I would disagree with you on that because I have a friend that's 40 and he's all big into all kinds of shit like that. And these kids that I work with at the high school, these kids know this old shit. Like, and you sit there, because I'll sit there and I'll listen to them. Like, they'll be in class and they'll be chatting away, working on whatever, chatting away while working. And they're talking about all of this stuff. I'm telling you, like, these kids, like, if they take an interest in something, they know that shit from start to finish.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say that all kids are like that. I can't say that. But I'm going to tell you the kids that are into, like, all of the, like, action heroes, like Bull and whoever all those guys are, Batman and whatever. If they're into it deep, dude. And they're into anime and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's really interesting because, like, when I was a kid, people weren't really into that kind of stuff. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And I don't know, there's just such a freedom of, it's, if you were into action heroes back in those days, that those things were considered little kid things.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And now, and you were preparing to be an adult and you had to be serious.
Well,
and,
I'll push back. You're wrong. You know who our action figures were? Army men, grown men back then. Definitely, the hero was the military. We were just coming from World War II. There was a much stronger value in real life heroes then, I think, and I think we still had our sort of like fantasized heroes because we had propaganda back then too, right? But to your point, yes, the more cartoony, the more colorful, right? The more like the tights. The tights. That was when Superman, I think, was in the Superman was actually very old. What is that? The 20s or 30s? I have to look that up real quick. He's actually really old.
I don't know. I just know that kids, when I was in high school, you weren't talking about superhero shit. That was little kid shit.
Yeah, I guess it's
my
more
generation.
Kids or people that lived in their parents' basement.
It's
I see what you mean.
Yeah. You're like around my son's age. It's your generation that broke out of that kind of stuff.
Now, did you play Dungeons and Dragons?
I didn't.
I did when I was in.
What did you think about the kids that did sit around on Friday nights and play Dungeons and Dragons instead of went to the college parties or high school parties or any of that?
Talking high school-ish.
I didn't do that in high school. I did it when I was in the military. I didn't know anything about D&D or any of that stuff until I went in the military.
Okay.
And so my experience with all of that stuff was not normal because I was 19.
You're not normal, Kim.
I know I'm not normal. There's not a damn thing about me that's normal, and I will be the first to admit it. But, but my life wasn't wrapped up in D&D. Like we got together, I think it was either on Saturday or Sunday. I think it was Sundays. During the day, we had a little group of like-minded friends, and we would get together and we would play D&D on Sundays. But on Friday nights, it was movie night, and we would all get together. We all lived in the dorms, and we had one friend that was he was a dorm manager. I was a dorm manager, but in my own dorm. He was a dorm manager in his dorm. And so we all converged on his room because it was a dude's room instead of a chick's room. But we'd all converge. There'd be like 15 of us crammed on 2 twin beds pushed together watching whatever movies. We would go to Blockbuster and get videos, and that's what we did on Friday nights. Saturday nights was party night, and then Sundays was D&D.
Because of disco, right? Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Fever. The fever was still hot.
Saturday Night Fever was in the 70s, wasn't it?
I know. I'm kidding.
I don't know. That's a little too. I was a little kid in the
kidding.
70s. Not that funny.
Although, hey, listen, Travolta was pretty transcending.
Yeah, it was. But I'm just saying things are a lot different now. And like my friend that's 40, he has a collection. He has collections of all of these action figures, and he's got thousands of dollars tied up in this collection. And so I was talking to him earlier this week, and he was telling me, because I got this new, and I don't know what the fuck you got because I don't pay attention to half of that shit. But he was all telling me about all of these new action figures that he got that are collectible stuff, and some of them he buys double so that he can take them out of the box and play with the damn things.
Oh wow! Speaking of collectible and expensive, I bought my son a Winnie the Pooh handmade with crochet. It's about I don't know. It's a good
18 inches.
ish, yeah. And it's a good full size, and it was $70.
I would never invest that kind of money on a kid.
It's
Because
not really. It's not an investment. It's gone. It's thrown away. Like it's the bear's fine right now, but it's. I'm not. I don't expect the bear to stay in good shape.
I never spent that kind of money on one for my son because
I was
they don't appreciate it for that. The value.
yes, but I was actually spending it at the market, and I was trying to help out a small business person. So
Yeah.
handmade. When I see something like that, and it seems to have not
I
only
paid
value,
I
but
paid 70 for a Scooby Doo wreath, handmade. It's got all the little tiny Scooby Doo figures and a stuffed
yeah.
animal or
I'm gonna get
character.
something
If
to
you give it
protect
to
it.
a little
Do you
kid,
put anything on it? Do you spray like Scotch Guard or something? I think is it that you can get to like make it where it like liquids can't it
Yeah,
won't.
you can spray Scotch Guard on your that.
Jason,
Definitely.
the Scooby Doo stuff, did you give it to a little kid?
No, I have it. It's mine.
Yeah. You give it to a little kid, they'll do all
Oh,
kinds of
you
stuff.
know,
My son,
if you saw my
my
Scooby Doo collection, you would just be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
We need to do another collections episode soon.
My Scooby
Yeah.
Doo collection it could fill a whole house.
That's
At one point in time, I had over 1 million pieces, and I don't exaggerate. We had it. I had it all insured. It was insured through my homeowner's insurance. It was.
So which one is more nerdy or sort like childish, like you were saying, superheroes or Scooby Doo?
I mean, Scooby Doo has a hidden
Yeah,
thing behind it.
true.
Um, but superheroes, I think, were originally aimed towards children to make them feel better about themselves, to make them understand bullying, to make them understand,
Didn't we make
to
Captain
do wrong from
America?
right.
Wasn't Captain America for like a war propaganda to try to boost the
Hmm.
soldiers'
They
morale?
used him
Yeah.
originally for that. Yeah.
Um, that's an interesting one. But I remember GI Joe being much bigger than superheroes for a long time.
Yeah,
That
G.I. Joe was the toy of kids for boys. If boys were going to play with action figures when I was a kid.
We actually found out today,
Do that.
we were doing trivia this morning, in Snake Eyes, one of the characters for G.I. Joe, Mattel was filing bankruptcy at the time that they made him, and they could not afford for colored paint. And that is the reason he is the black plastic color.
Hmm.
He was just, they
All
made him a
black.
black plastic toy, all black, because they couldn't afford the colored paint.
I don't
Very
remember
interesting.
it's all black.
Yeah.
Barbie for boys, Brenda says. Well, I don't know, Brenda. They did have dolls. They did have GI Joe dolls, but when I was a kid, they had action figures with like these there was like an absorbent amount of bendiness that the GI Joes had versus other toys. Like their every joint would bend and shit. Like even their like wrists and stuff. And I don't think I enjoyed it because you couldn't stand them up really because of it. They weren't stiff bend. They would just like they were kind of limp, if that makes sense. Um, Snake Eyes was cool. Yeah, Snake Eyes is probably one of the most popular ones, but I don't remember his original look being like that.
Yep, it's solid black.
I went
And
into
then they made his brother solid white.
Yep, it makes sense. Yin and yang and all that.
Yep.
I actually went into this comicbook.com live stream on Facebook the other day. I was like, is this even live? Because I was trying to talk to them and they don't. And I'm thinking they were replaying replaying a video, and the comicbooks.com page was commenting, yes, it is live. I'm like, no, bro, you're just here monitoring the replay. Get out of here with that. They were talking about the new Venom movie. Has anybody seen the trailer for the new Venom movie?
Mm-mm.
What's up, Brian?
we might be able to watch it later, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. The Venom series has been actually really good, and to your point, Kim, the Venom series has definitely been much more adult. Like, he's biting heads off, like these things that it's a much more like the guy's not really a hero. He's kind of an anti-hero. They're going after the adult crowd because we grew up with those characters. So that's why nowadays it's crazy. You see the kids' cartoons. They're this weird sort of dumbed down version of the cartoons that I remember growing up with. And that's because when I grew up, the cartoons were just coming into their own as stories, and so they were much more adult. So it might sound silly, but think of things like He-Man and Thundercats and stuff. Those are way different than like the kids stuff we see now with like trolls and bubble guppies and like.
Well, they just brought X-Men '97 back.
Yes,
so
I watched it. It was very good. It was very good.
Like they're saying it's going to win an Oscar and shit. Like they're trying to put it up for the highest awards possible and everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's the first animated movie cartoon that'll win top awards for every category.
There were parts I didn't like when, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it, but when Professor X, he's sort of like given this ultimatum whether he, can rule the universe or has to go back to Earth. That whole part was just really poorly done. Like the sister says, he's not loyal to us. I don't know what she says. It was just so bad. But the rest of it was really, really good. What's up, William? I see you, bro, jumping around on the. William won the dreadful box last night. Congrats, William.
I want one of those dreadful boxes.
Yeah, I actually want I want one of the boxes with all the seeds, not cannabis. But like I think there's cannabis seeds, but then just a bunch of seeds. I forget what they called it, Seeds of Hope box or whatever. It's a good one. Well, let's go with the other way. Did you see the Barbie movie, Kim?
No.
I never saw it, but I actually heard that as far as cringy girl boss type stuff that we see a lot of times in these movies, which is like, what I mean is like the over forcing of the girl being the badass or whatever. Evidently, the Barbie movie wasn't all that bad. It was actually very well done as far as that goes. I didn't see it. Anybody in the comments, hit the comments below if you guys saw it. But I think I wouldn't be opposed if I was like on a date or something. But I did hear that it wasn't like too cringy as far as the.
No, from what I understand, it's not cringy at all. But the cringy thing to me is Barbie and Ken were named after the creator's son and daughter.
Oh, really?
That's cringy.
That does seem a little bit odd.
Yeah.
So, what?
Because they end up becoming romantically involved.
No. Well, yeah.
Brenda saw it. Tell us what you thought, Brenda.
People name things after themselves or their kids or a family member all the time.
Yeah, I remember Dale Rook used to say how he would name.
Well, you can't tell me that you didn't know. You can't tell me you didn't know that you planned on these two characters being together. Well, I'm gonna name these two characters after my kids, and they're gonna get romantically together.
Maybe that was later.
When was Barbie created, and when was Ken created?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I bet Ken was like years later.
Yeah, I think Barbie.
Well, hold on. That's even worse, though, to Jason's point, because if he's years later going, well, Barbie needs like a mate. Barbie needs a man, like Barbie needs like a boyfriend. What should I name him?
You guys are dirty-minded.
No, that's weird. Just like naming cannabis strains after your family members.
Innocent child's toy, and you sexualize it.
Listen, there was a lot of stuff back in the day. Like, remember, I realize it's not exactly connected, but remember all the movies that people would splice like porn into the scenes between, like where you wouldn't fully register it, but it was there. Like, people do this sick shit, man. Like, it's I can imagine.
Well,
but maybe he wasn't thinking about it.
Watch
Yeah.
The Lion King. There's all kinds of little.
Have you heard the rumors of
Disney movies had stuff in them.
Yes. Have you heard the rumors of Walt Disney? Period. Like the whole, like, I don't know. He's got a lot of rumors around him. Like, who knows? Like, the guy is such a mystery. It's so funny. Like, well, I'm not gonna name names, but let's say I have people that send me things that show me this guy here is actually Elvis, and he's still alive. He's a pastor down over in like Utah, and there's all these different things. Like all these people are, Tupac's still out there. Michael Jackson's not dead. Like people have a lot of time on their hands to worry about stuff that doesn't affect them directly. Like if I'm looking at my pop culture and I'm thinking, okay, this is the kind of entertainment I enjoy, and I like to watch a movie here and there to sort of relax and get myself out of reality for a minute, right? And all those are personal connections to me, and so then I have a personal interest in like the content that's around, and I say, well, man, there hasn't been a good movie in a while or whatever. That's different than going, yeah, but that actor, man, he's actually a clone, and he's been he's been replaced, and it's like, well, that doesn't really affect me any. Like his clone's doing well. I like his clone. Like,
what do you think about Paul Rudd? If we're going to talk about clones,
Paul Rudd.
Creative Collectibles is in the house.
Hey, what's up, Creative?
How you doing?
So Brenda says about Barbie, it wasn't cringe, but it wasn't really for kids. Yeah, it was kind of, again, it was the aging group of people that grew up with it, I think, is where they're trying to hit. Maybe teen girls, but not as young as the ones going. So little girls were going to this movie, and it was definitely more of a, young adult movie. Elvis was dead in 1977. It's all started the day after his death. What?
I think that people are just in love with conspiracy and innuendo and stuff like that.
It gives us something to make the world feel a little bit less bland, a little bit less simulation.
Okay. I think people like to think they have the inside scoop on things. They like to feel like they have information that others don't.
Do you think the government created conspiracy theories because of everything they hid from us?
No, I think
demonized it. They demonized the term.
Okay.
It's just a thought of a. Go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
I really believe that conspiracy theories and that all of that stuff, comes from cultures that are superstitious and things like that.
Okay.
I think there's a level of superstition.
No, Marguerite.
Don't you think a conspiracy theory is more or less just a rumor that's unsubstantiated?
Not necessarily, because let me tell you, when 9/11 happened.
Oh, she goes deep.
I've been sitting a lot. My ass hurts. I'm
talking about with 9/11. You just went straight up swinging. You were like, okay, we're getting into it.
He says she goes deep, and then Kim says, my ass hurts.
It does, man. I've been sitting a lot. So when 9/11 happened, I strongly felt like George Bush let it happen. I felt like he had a deeper agenda. And I had a group of people that I would have lunch with, and we talk about this probably like once a month. I had a little group of adults. And so anyway, as the years go by after 9/11 happened, after the years go by, or not years, but well, maybe it was years, like a couple of years, however long it was, when George Bush wanted to start going in after Iraq. We were sitting there having lunch, and I said, we were talking about that, and I said, George Bush is going in Iraq without any reason to go into Iraq. And I said, the reason he wants to go into Iraq is because he wants to go in after Syria and all of these other hotbed terrorist Middle Eastern countries. And everybody was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And I said, it makes sense, dude. It totally makes sense from a political standpoint. I said, you watch and see. He's going to go into Iraq, and then he's going to try to make a case for going into Syria and whatever else, right? Well, that never happened because there was just so much blowback from Congress.
We went into Syria, though.
Yes, but not the way that George Bush wanted to go in. And he
It
didn't
wasn't.
want
It was
to
never
stop in
George
Syria.
Bush.
He wanted all of those hotbeds.
It was
Anyway,
never George Bush. It's the military-industrial complex. There are hundreds of people.
anyway, Waylon, a few years ago, or well, it's been the last 10 years, shall we say, one of the people that worked in his administration, and I cannot for the life of me recall the person's name or what their
John
position
Bolton.
was, wrote a book, and that's exactly it. George, that it was my exact prediction, was exactly what I said. Was that George Bush had designs to go in after all of those hotbed terrorist groups, just like I said. So
you think the guy that uses the word strategery is the one that was the mastermind behind all that? He wasn't being sort of like led by the deep state, which we know of now as the people that are career, military industrial complex people, all the people telling him information. Sir, this is the information to go on. You got to go. Like, you're telling me that the guy that's only there for 4 to 8 years is going to be the one that's got all the plans to invade all these countries that are going to be.
I agree with that though. I think he did because of the oil. He knew for years, for his whole lifetime, he's been invested in oil. His whole family has been invested in oil.
A lot of people are, though.
All of that oil industry
is too. Look, it's called the petrodollar. We are invested in oil. Our whole deep state is.
Deal. You have these people that run for president are people that have big egos. The majority of them have big egos.
Politicians, yep.
And his dad, George Sr., wanted desperately to go deeper into all of that, and he was precluded. He was back.
Yep.
And
for democracy.
It has to do, I don't know about all the conspiracy, deep state, blah 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 stuff. I don't know, and I don't care.
You're giving us
what I do know is that they are Christians. Okay, they are highly religious people, and there are things tied into the religion. There's things that are tied into their oil interests. I don't know what else. There's also an element of glory. There's also an element of glory that goes in with that ties into ego. And I know that George Bush really Junior wanted to go in, and he wanted to finish what his dad started.
Okay, I'll give that to you, but you can't at least go halfway with me and say that yes, there were probably 100, like 10 yes men in the room going, they're in their head going, yes, we need this. Yes, yes, yes.
Of course.
All of it. Okay, well I mean, so you're going to tell me that peer pressure doesn't work on adults too, whether their ego is big or not. You've got all these quote like experts telling you information. Look at Fauci. Look at every government expert that was in the ear of people that were elected. And so I'm not saying that George Bush was good or bad. I'm saying he was neither here nor there when it comes to who's really pushing that type of agenda. We want to invade every country on the planet, basically. And that's to keep us.
Yeah, but George Bush really, and I'm not going to say that George Bush was the only person thinking alone on this, because there's many people, like I've studied politics. There's many people that have felt that way for a long time. A lot of people have wanted, because one of the biggest threats to democracy is what happens over in the Middle East. The Middle East is one of our biggest enemies behind Russia and China. So, so yeah, it's a thing in politics that people have recognized, and it's like a pipe dream, whatever you want to call it. It's a pipe dream. There's no way on God's green earth that we can, in my opinion, that we can go in and take over the Middle East and tame them down. It's not going to happen, because they're just, in order to do that, you have to literally annihilate all of those people. And I just don't know that that's something, I don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening on a whim. I think that if something like that happened, it's a World War III scenario, survival of the fittest, Mad Max kind of a thing.
Well, what about the Abraham Accords? We just have the problem is we flip our script every few years in our country. We can't stick to things like having a document to have peace in the Middle East. We couldn't do it. Now, I think that's a pipe dream because it's all about propaganda. We make money on it. So not us, not me and you, but a lot of people make money on it. Look at KBR. Look at all of the politicians putting their relatives' businesses into the mix to make arms and to do all these different things. KBR was the civilians that were allowed to go over into Iraq and work and make a boatload of our tax dollars. A guy could go over there for 3 months if he survived, drove a truck for 3 months. He could come home with $100,000 or more.
Yeah.
$100,000. Okay, I can survive 3 months in the desert without a gun.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of them. A lot of them did not. We'll say, but I'm just saying those were all contracted through. I think it was Jeb Bush's company, wasn't it?
It was Jeb Bush, or was it the one that was? Oh,
so
what
it's
was that?
all-
Who was the one that was the vice president under Daddy Bush? The bald-headed old man.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
His daughter's the one.
Cheney. Was it Cheney?
Cheney. I think Dick Cheney had some involvement. I can't remember the name of that company.
Yeah, it was his brother. I think that was
I keep wanting to call it
KBR.
Blackwater, but I don't think it was Blackwater.
It was KBR, but I can't remember the like acronym what it stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rose, you got it. Yep. Alex, what's up, my guy? Middle East was at
Dick Cheney's company was I like
agree.
People.
Alex, come on up, man. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's a bad joke.
I want to get some more folks up here. If anybody's in the audience that wants to be on screen, Steve-O, Alex.
It is D-Day today. So
yeah,
we get back on, local. Today is anniversary of D-Day. We lost a lot of people that day.
Did you guys watch the NBC special last night on D-Day? I don't normally.
Was that the one where Biden pooped? I saw that on X today.
Oh, what? I don't have any idea. I didn't watch the whole thing.
We're
no, they took.
Yeah, he goes.
They took the surviving World War II vets that survived D-Day, that were D-Day survivors. They took them back to Normandy. It was like a
see, I heard on the news today that somebody died on the way back to the fucking thing.
Wow.
Oh, did they? Well, they're old. They're all in their 90s and 100s. These guys that went, the ones that were that they filmed, there, were teenagers. They were young men.
102-year-old survivor dies on way back to Normandy.
Yeah.
Wow. He might have been like, I don't know, trying to get back to his brothers that were already there. You know what I mean? Like some kind of a weird, like his body might, how when a very old couple, like a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes, like at one of the two dies and the other one dies not because of health but because of heartache or something. I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying?
The attachment that happened with my dad and stepmom.
Maybe he felt such a strong
broken heart syndrome.
Yeah, like he was there, like he remembers it, like all came back to him and everything. So I don't know. All right, so I'll show you this little snippet real fast. You tell me what was going on, really. Like honestly, maybe not. I don't want to get everyone up in arms, but it was weird. Say that.
What are you talking about?
It's a video of Joe Biden pooping up there by the podium. It was weird.
Pooping?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me try to share it in.
So he really did shit his pants? Like that's not a joke?
I didn't get to see his pants, but man, like you'd have to.
Like I heard today that my man shit his pants on live TV was the joke of the day today.
Can you see this?
No, we can't.
Hang on.
It's like a little teeny tiny.
Oh man, you're fucking kidding me.
Oh. Did I get booted? Am I still here? Can you hear me? Okay, my other computer got booted. Let's see. Can you make that one the screen? Here, I'm coming back in. I don't know what happened there, but got booted.
What do you want? This on the screen?
I'm almost there. Hang on. I want no, not that. Why? This. Yeah, that. I'm not really sure what he did. Check this out. And he
He's not shitty.
no, are you sure?
Oh, brother.
We'll watch it one more time. Let's see. I think he was about to try to sit down. There was no chair near him. Can't find his chair. Can't find his chair. Can't find his chair. Is there a chair? Do I know how to? Okay.
There's chairs there though, right there.
Yeah, he can't see behind him though because it's a far distance, like a couple feet away. It's tough for him.
I want a different angle.
Dude, I have done that too. Like fallen because.
Oh yeah,
closer.
I've actually been the victim of really hurting myself when somebody pulled the chair out from behind me. That shit hurts.
I didn't have a chair pulled out from behind me, but I was in an IEP meeting. I was the case manager, and I stood up to plug the monitor, the big screen over here, monitor in the HDMI into my laptop. And when I stood up, the chair that I was sitting in had wheels and it rolled back, and I didn't realize that it had rolled back. So I plugged my computer in and I went to sit down, and I went bam right on the floor. And I couldn't walk for a few days. I hurt.
Who is it? They say Mike.
Everybody's saying it's edited and there's no chair there.
That's it's possible, but even if there is a chair there, it looks like he's a few inches, like a good foot away from it. Can't get to it. Mike says, "Who is it?" They say plays Biden, Jim Carrey, and somebody else. LOL. Obama's calling. Yeah, okay, well maybe. Listen, I really think it's neither here nor there who's calling the shots, guys. Let me say that, because people are not people that get up in arms about whatever's happening. They're looking to play on a side. They want to have a team. They want a team sport. Me, I can sit here and tell you what my opinions are on like actual issues. Like you want to talk about whatever it is, I'll talk about the philosophy behind my thoughts of why I believe this issue, not because I happen to like said so-and-so smile and so-and-so's like demeanor and the other guy's like tweets or whatever. Like that has nothing to do with why I would vote for anyone at all. It has to do with if someone aligns more with what I believe. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't think about what they believe first. They just go, well, I heard too much bad stuff about this one or that one. It's like,
well, it's just like there was a debate between Kennedy and Nixon.
I dove down a rabbit hole real quick.
No, Creative says you pooped standing up. Sorry.
I mean, I have.
I think we all have.
But I like this one though. I dove down a rabbit hole and got a different angle real quick. His wife is yelling at him, "Do not sit down yet." She covers her mouth, and there's another angle. He goes to sit down, and she's standing right next to him and says, "Do not sit down." And he stops like, "Oh, fuck, I got to stand back up." And his body just is stuck. Yeah. He's like, "I don't know what to do."
Did you see her push the button to get him to stand back up?
Now, that's funny. I've been in that situation before. Thought it was time to sit down, and it wasn't. And my wife at the time had yelled at me, and I'll give him
Creative.
that. Yep. I'll give him that one.
Yep. Creative. This is exactly why one of the litmus tests for me is if you cannot say anything negative, if you cannot critique or anything to the person that you plan to like back, that's delirious. That's delirious. That's sort of like brainwash or whatever. That's so like Creative is saying, not everyone aligns perfectly to your beliefs, and that's my point. Is like you can't be like, oh well, everything this one does or that one does is perfect. Like no, like if you cannot say something like in criticism, that's the whole process. That's the whole point of us being here. Otherwise, we'd still have a king, no criticisms. But you got to be able to poke holes in whatever you believe. That's what makes it stronger, right? You don't become stronger at what you think unless you allow that to happen. Maybe you get a little ego shot here and there, but it is what it is, man. You gotta.
Well, it's just like I loved Reagan. I loved him. I voted.
He had a lot of problems too, but yeah, he was pretty decent.
I loved him. There was just he was warm. He was kindly. He was well spoken. He was well written. He was the quintessential statesman.
He was an actor.
But during his presidency, there was horrible poverty. I remember people were living out of their cars. There was a terrible recession.
War on drugs.
We had the Iran-Contra. There was a lot of shit that went on during his presidency, and
he was an actor, Kim, right? He was an actor.
He was an actor.
Yeah. So, like, why do people
things about him that were genuine too? And I think his genuineness as a human being came through.
I think he was more fiscally responsible. I liked him for that.
Yes, he was. Yeah. I liked him for that, and I liked him because, whether it was him or the people that he surrounded himself with, they didn't take any shit off of Russia and China and stuff. And I like that.
Inflation. Yeah, inflation is not good. And I think the whole world is seeing it, though. I feel like there's something happening. And I agree that there's a lot of messed up things happening here. But I feel when I look at that 30,000 foot view, right? Are all of these countries, they're like in the back room playing like Risk or freaking, Monopoly, like on a Zoom call or something. In the backstage going, okay, so who should do what, where, and okay, all right, yeah. You move these troops here, yeah, okay, let's fight, okay, let's see, well, which ones are going to win? It's all this big game, and I feel like every major country on the planet is so much more connected now than we ever have been. Like we were talking about Facebook in Australia. Like that's a weird thing. Facebook is this sort of like in charge of every country now. Like literally, if you let Facebook in, and then you give people look at TikTok. Look at what happened. They let it into America, and then it got so ingrained, and everyone was so addicted that people were very up in arms. People that do not even look at politics were freaking out about this TikTok thing. A lot of people jumped ship and went and picked up a Clapper account. I saw that happening. People were so worried about the TikTok thing, and it's like they didn't even look into it. It wasn't really a ban. It was a forced divestment. They want ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, to divest, and if they don't, what do? They just pay a fine. They just have to pay. That's it.
I thought it was more than just that. I thought that they were going to ban them.
They have no. It's not. It's only if they don't pay. If they don't do one of the two, they either have to divest or they have to. There's certain. I don't know what the money involved was, but there's no way they're going to divest. More cowbell, right, Brad? What's up, my guy? More cowbell is what the world needs.
Definitely more cowbells.
Creative says, I love no president, not one. And that's true. Like you shouldn't love your president. I don't think I should love my president, to be honest. Did you love your principal? Do you love your like boss at work? Like I don't look at the president as my boss, my leader, more or less. I don't know. They're not there long enough really to be a long-term leader. It's sort of a short-term, hey, run this office for me. I don't see why you should be in love with it so much.
I'm critical of everybody. Like even my own child. Like they're
Poor,
Like, you
poor
do
kid.
something wrong, you do whatever, I'm going to hold you accountable for it. And I'm going to say, what's up with it? You know, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, well, I love this person and he can do no wrong. And when he does wrong, I'm still going to support him and rah, rah. No, you fuck up, you fuck up. I'm going to call you on the card for it.
I think a lot of people paint that as a straw man, though. I don't really know many people on either side that says, well, my guy can do no wrong. No one's saying that. It's just
there's plenty of people that say that shit about Trump.
No, they don't. They don't literally say that. You're inferring that. You're inferring that.
I'm telling
you. said he can do no wrong. They're saying they say that literally. Like, why would anyone ever say that about anyone? I don't think that's true. I think what they're doing is they're defending him.
I'm telling you, you haven't.
Okay, well, give me an example. Like, what was it? Like, they said Trump is innocent and he can never do any wrong. They say that.
Yes. People are fucking brainwashed about that dude.
Yeah, well, but people are also deranged about him too, to where they just all they see is red when they look at him.
I know you got it on both sides. I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying that there's people out there that are like that, dude.
Okay, but that's probably not a lot of people. I'm thinking.
No, it's a chunk.
So the MAGA movement is not Trump. You realize this, right? The MAGA movement has backed Trump, but there's plenty of people all through that movement that would drop him in a heartbeat if he doesn't do what he should have done the first time and come through and clean house with all this like bloat and all this stuff that's going on. Like he let them take him by the hand. He let all these, what we call the deep state. Don't call them deep state. Call them the career government employees. Okay, if you want to call it, like lengthen it out. He definitely went down a lot of bad directions, and a lot of people are wanting to hold him account. But the problem is they don't see a better option, and so therefore they're looking at him even more closely to say, if you step, they're gonna be critical. A lot of big names are critical of him now that are still planning on voting for him, but they want to make sure that one of the two, they're trying to force somebody to do what they're like,
Here's my opinion about the president, and this is any president. The president hasn't been the person that runs the country for a very long time, since probably World War II or maybe before. Once we had World War II and the United States became such a big world power, it became a more complex machine. The world became much more complex after World War II. So the president has not, in my opinion, has not really truly been the person that runs this country.
Not really, but they do have influence still.
Huh?
Not really, but they do have a lot of influence still.
No, I know they do. But here's what I think about presidents the last 20 years-ish. I feel like they're more of a figurehead. They pander to their base, and the base is what runs the country.
I don't know. Biden.
I do know.
Okay.
Because that base doesn't just mean people like me and you. That base is
deep base.
That base is people that are
entrenched government employees.
Not necessarily government employees.
We're elites,
like the Koch brothers and
lots of elites,
billionaires, or these really wealthy oligarch kind of people.
Special interest groups, right? That's what we call them.
Special interest groups, not just special interest groups, all kinds of people. I mean, they talk about
super PACs.
Yeah, let's throw the Illuminati in there. I don't know that the Illuminati is really but the people that have wealth and influence are the people that make a presidential base, okay, or create that base. Now, I carefully watch a lot of things, a lot of the speeches that presidents give, and just things that go on. And I remember when the whole pandemic thing hit, and they were doing all of those live updates, like almost every day. Trump and Fauci and all of these people, not just Fauci, but all of these different people would be up on stage almost daily giving briefings on what was going on. And I don't remember exactly what it was that Trump would talk about, but he would come out and he would say certain things. He would state his stand on things. And then within 24 hours, whatever stand he had taken and he had stated on one of those broadcasts, he would completely flip to the other side of it, because he was responding to his base. He was responding to the people that were responsible for keeping him as president.
I would say that he was also being told things.
It's not just Trump. It's a bunch of those guys. It's a bunch of the presidents have flipped.
The flip-flopping.
Whatever their stand was in the moment for something, they flipped whenever it got to their base, because you have to keep your base happy, because those are the people that keep you in office. And if you don't support them, they're going to get rid of you.
Yeah, but that term I don't like using. So the base actually stands for the people, the normies, the people like us that would vote. The special interest groups, all the money, the super PACs, those are the people that you're talking about that they actually.
I'm telling you that that's part of the base. Those are the people that bring all of the people like us in. I'm telling you, it's part of the machinery of the base.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of money that goes into it, that's not spent by their direct campaigns, that are spent by the people you're talking about. So I get what you're saying. I just feel like there is a differentiation between those that are actually calling the shots, like lobbyists and such, and those that are just being duped by it.
It's not just the lobbyists. It's people that are out there in the world, whether they're Americans or not. They're people that are driving that influence. They have vested interests, and it's not just political interest groups.
Brad.
It's not just political interest groups.
Everyone's a political interest group.
Yeah, but not in the sense that you were talking about.
Well, I mean, you want to put people that just vote in with the same category as the people that are pushing their opinions. Those of us who vote we're not swaying the president on a daily basis just because he's looking at news and he's looking at big heads, big figures, big personalities, and that's what will. And also, I got to give it up to he definitely was listening to his medical advisor, which I don't agree with anymore. But the problem is there are a lot of people in his ear every day. Anyway, I don't want to be on just the president. I think the problem is nobody really pays attention to their local elections. Local nearby.
It's all over the place.
National stuff. Cheers.
It's all over the place. People, I don't know. It's sad. I don't vote in primaries because we don't have an open primary here. So I'm registered Republican. The only time that I actually vote is if there's a local candidate that I'm really hot about, that I want to make sure that I throw my support behind for whatever reason. Then I'll go out and vote in a primary. But I don't vote in my primaries generally, just the general elections.
I mean, I wish I spent more time to research my local people. It's hard though, and I think the more stuff they throw in front of us, the more gadgets and the more people to pay attention to, and the more redirection and misdirection that we see with crazy news stories and fake rainstorms and all this stuff. Did you see about Dubai with the crazy storm that happened in Dubai? Jason, you probably heard about that one, right? We think it was a weather machine and stuff.
Well, One thing with that is they were actually admitted weeks prior. They had been trying to um, cause that to happen, but not to the scale that it was on. And it's called seeding. It's called
Yeah,
cloud seeding, is what it's called. Recently, it's been more and more coming out. We do it here in the United States. A lot of countries actually do it.
I thought they had
But
outlawed it.
no,
I know that some states outlaw chemtrails. Tennessee, for example. Maybe that was cloud seeding too. I'm not sure what's connected with it, but I know they outlawed some of that.
cloud seeding is trying to make it rain.
Right.
Cloud seeding is
Like
trying to increase the amount that it rains, how long it rains for.
No diddy.
It's
Make it rain. No diddy.
right.
Yeah, maybe it's just at the state levels that it's illegal or that they've outlawed it. I'm not sure. I remember reading something about it at one point, and I had thought that it was illegal, but maybe it's at state level that it's illegal.
Now, a problem that they are having is because of computers and technology and all of that. A lot of the pictures that we have been seeing have been just computer generated, animated. Like it's not as bad as people were saying that it was, or making it out to be with some of the pictures and stuff, but it was still a horrific thing.
Well, you know what they also do without using AI is people will take old clips from different things, like an old war zone or something, put it out as a new clip and say this happened in Ukraine today or whatever, and it wasn't. They find out it was like from some years back.
Yeah,
that's how they dupe some people with all these conspiracy theories. Like one of them is that there are all these underground like caverns where they keep all the child sex trafficking for the whole planet. And there's all these underground places. They're called dumbs.
No, that was on an island. That was called Pleasure
Right. I
Island.
was like, they don't have to be underground. They have whole countries where it's okay. What do you mean?
We want to talk about conspiracy theories, and I'm going to go back to it. Yes, recently, we're still dealing with fucking Pleasure Island and shit. But we were told about this shit during Pinocchio. What year did Pinocchio come out?
Oh, yeah.
It was
like the
right
40s?
there. Yeah, it is right there. Hollywood told us about all of it in the 40s. And it took us until 2020 to actually start doing something about it.
Yeah, I think that's what the deeper problem is. Is like,
why is that? Because what does Hollywood control? Everything.
Influence. Yeah, perception. Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Because think about it, Hollywood is not just movies, right? Not just TV. It's all the commercials. It's the actual politicians. Everything. Politicians fit like they have whole books to read on like how to use their hands and exactly where to point and when to point, and then all this stuff like exactly how to brainwash you into whatever. And that's all coming from the ability that Hollywood has to just create an image in your head with all their.
They sent little boys to Pleasure Island for being bad and never came back. They supposedly turned into donkeys.
They did what now? Say that again.
In Pinocchio. Yep. In Pinocchio, they sent little boys to Pleasure Island. The wolf and the fox went around and collected all these little boys. Sent them to Pleasure Island because they were bad little boys.
Mm-hmm.
So they kidnapped all these little kids.
See, I never saw
Pleasure Island. They ended up turning into donkeys. But, you don't want to go to Pleasure Island. You don't know what they do to little boys on Pleasure Island. Like, it's a whole thing. It's... And you think about it, 1940, they're telling us this. Whatever year that movie come out.
It came out in 1940.
Yeah.
Because I looked it up. I never saw Pinocchio, so I'm not a big moviegoer, so there's a lot of movies I haven't seen. But I will say, because I've studied certain things, I was looking at becoming a social worker at one point before I settled, on becoming a teacher. And so I took classes in social work and I took classes in sociology. And, you know, kids didn't have rights. Kids didn't have rights. They still don't. Their rights do not fall under the same rights that adult rights do. There's a whole children's code that covers children's rights. And it wasn't until, I want to say it was like the 1920s and 30s when the field of social work started developing, and they started like looking at children's rights. And so children didn't have rights. There was just no rights back then. Like, did we talk last week? Was it here that we were talking last week about selling children? I want to say we did. We talked about selling children last week.
I feel like we've talked about it before, like those magazines where it's like it's a $10,000 desk. It's like, oh, that seems odd for a price of desk.
Well, because my mom was tired of dealing with my sister. My mom had moved to New Mexico. She had divorced my sister's dad. And my mom was tired of my grandma who was raising my sister. She was tired of my grandma bugging her about sending money and helping to take care of my sister. And so my mom left New Mexico, went back to Illinois, to her hometown in Illinois, and sold my sister on the black market. And this was back in the 50s. And so, dark shit has happened. I can tell you, growing up, my generation growing up, that the whole Me Too movement, like, I'm not like one of these bra burning, what do you call it?
Feminist?
I'm very much an equal rights kind of a person. I can do just as good as anybody else, and I should have the right to do just as good as anybody else. I'm not going to stand out there and blow a horn for women's rights or whatever. I'm just going to quietly go out there and, be who I am. But I will tell you that the Me Too movement, like, it totally resonates with me, because as a female that's grown up in my lifetime, that's gone through my lifetime, like, women have been treated like shit, dude. Like, you have to be careful. And even still to this day, I don't walk into Walmart if I'm dressed nice, because if I do, I get all kinds of fucking dudes following me around, leering at me, following me in the store, and trying to follow me outside in my car and all kinds of shit. It's easy to get taken advantage of. Women and children and elderly people and animals are the most abused things in our society, even to this day. And so,
you don't think men get abused too?
Huh?
You don't think men get maybe a different type of, maybe not physical abuse?
Yes, I agree with you.
It's a different thing.
Predominantly, it's the men traditionally that have been the abusers. And I'm not going to say
What do you mean, though? What do you mean?
Don't abuse and that the abuse isn't different. I'm just saying that when it comes to, let me give you an example. And this was back in 1999, or was it 2000? It's 2000. I was going to college. I was working on one of my master's degrees. I was going to college, and I was working at a welding supply business here in my community. And the guy that hired me was a nice looking young man. He was probably about 10 years younger than I am, or I was, or well, maybe not, maybe 5 years younger than I was, and married. And I get called into his office one day. He says, "Hey, I want to run some ideas by you." And I was like, "Okay." So I go in and I sit down. He's sitting at his desk, and I'm sitting in a little easy chair in front of his desk. And he says, "So I think you and I need to have an affair." And that's exactly what he told me.
Like,
and I'm a very moral person. Like I am a very moral person. Okay. And I sat there and I was like, how the fuck do I get out of this? In a way that's how am I going to get out of this? So I'm sitting there and I looked at him and I says, well, I think that if that kind of thing happens, I said, your wife is probably going to do something ugly, because his wife is a ball breaker. And 2 weeks later, I got laid off from my job.
Do you think that's abuse? It's abuse of power, I guess.
It is an abuse of power, and it's intimidating. I cannot tell you, like, your livelihood is threatened. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that went with that.
Well, a lot of people. Go ahead.
I remember walking into a nightclub when I was, how old was I? I was 20. And it was when I was stationed in San Antonio, Texas, and me and a group of my friends, male and female, walked into a nightclub, and I had a skirt on that came to just above my knees. Okay, I don't wear skirts that are shorter than that. I'm not comfortable. I'm very modest about my body. And I walked into the nightclub with my friends, and some drunk motherfucker reached his hand up underneath my skirt and grabbed my ass. And it was the wrong thing for him to do, because when he did that, I swung around and I grabbed him by the throat and I threw him on the wall and I was choking him out. And so, but I'm just telling you, things are done to women that you don't understand. When I go to get in my car, you don't put your key in the lock anymore, but when I go to get in my car, I don't just get in my car. I look in my back seat and make sure that nobody's in my back seat looking for me. Because that's the kind of life you live when you're a woman, because you're preyed upon like that.
Do you think there's any play that propaganda has in this, considering there have been dozens of false accusations that have keep coming out? They constantly keep coming out. False, where this whole myth of the rates of rape and on college campuses that basically make women scared to death to go out without checking over their shoulder, like you said. But when they find out that almost everyone, look at Mattress Girl, look at Penn State, look at, I could.
I don't go.
But they keep coming out to be false.
I don't go based on.
Look at more than just anecdotal, though.
I don't look at things based.
Anecdotally, I've never raped anyone. So anecdotally, I would think, oh, there's no rapes ever happening. But that's not the case. The case is we have to look at like the broader numbers, right?
I don't go based on what people say. I go based on my experiences. I go based on my experiences. Not anecdotal, my experiences.
Right.
And I have been in situations too many times where I have either been raped or could have been raped or whatever.
There's a lot of scare from everywhere, though. I don't know why it has to be a gender thing, because you got to realize that the way that you just came to me and said, there are things that happen to women that you don't know. Well, let's list a whole bunch of things that happen to men. Because of the internet now, for sure, you have dating sites where if I happen to go onto a date with a girl, I have to be worried that she has 5 guys in the bushes about to just take everything I have, which has happened. Not that exactly. I've never been jumped. I always have this fantasy about it. I'm like, all right, I'm taking 1 or 2 of you with me. But you know what I'm saying? I've been in fights, but it's like no one's ever like ganged up on me. And it's like, I always, I always wait for that. I'm assuming that, or not just that. A woman can also drug a man. A woman can steal from you, which they did for me. There's so many things. There's maybe not necessarily. I mean, they can hurt you for sure too. Don't get me wrong, or have people to do that, or actually ruin your entire, reputation online. Not just online, which becomes your whole life. Like there's a whole list of things, like, and it's happening more and more. And this is why we're finding this whole incel crowd. We're finding this whole like rates of people actually getting married are way less. The rates of divorce are higher. All these issues are partly because we're on this sort of playing field of battling a power where the power is now whoever the public opinion, more or less.
Women are becoming a lot more aggressive. It freaked me out when I moved out to California because I'm very old fashioned in certain things. Like I would not ask a man out. I won't do that. I've never been that way, and I'm just not that way. But when I moved out to California, it was like I was astonished being around. I was just astonished in general by how forward women were there, because they had no compunction about aggressively going after men. And it just kind of freaked me out. And so I think that things have changed in the last probably 20 years, maybe even longer than that. I don't know. But,
look at what Creative says here. She says, yes, personal experiences shape decisions. I agree, ladies. I do agree. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of propaganda out there, too. Like this whole, there is like this myth of that the boogeyman, and we all have it. Like for me to be worried about whatever, it's something that hasn't happened to me yet. It's because I saw that it's happening on the news. It's happening here. It's happening there. Like in New York, there was this whole rash of women being punched in the face. And I think it might still be happening. Yeah, well, that was the thing. That was the thing. You're right. It came out to be everyone. But the story at first was that women are getting punched in the face, and so that was like the sensational thing, right? And so then that would make you think in your head, like, oh man, someone's just attacking women. And that was what got out there first. And that's my point. It's like we have to be careful.
That's a bigger headline.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not what's the word, impervious to this, but it's hard. We had the discussions before on where do you get your information? How do you tell if it's legit or not? Because you can't just Google and go, oh, this is a website, whatever, geek.com. Oh, it looks good. Like, I don't know. You don't, where do you go? What do you trust? And so you have to find a way to discern. And this is one reason why the show is here, is because us having these debates back and forth is to giving us this, it's breaking this sort of cycle in our own minds going, wait. Not necessarily agreeing with the other side, but making you have to think about it enough that you are no longer in sort of the tunnel vision that maybe you had. Does that make sense? I'm finding the words here, but it's to give perspective so that we don't have to. And that's the same thing you do with news sources, is you look at a whole bunch if you want to find out the truth, to kind of see a bigger picture, not just two or Let me go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
Here's how I handle this, because
one sec, Kim. My dinner's here, so I gotta take off, guys. I love you guys. Yeah, my pizza just showed up, so. Sure. Cool. I love you guys. I will see you all next week if I don't see you all beforehand. What's that?
What showed up?
Oh, Supreme Pizza.
Ooh, Supreme. Okay.
Yeah.
All
right, man.
We'll go enjoy
$29 later.
Peace out.
Have a good night.
Love you guys. Yeah.
Love you. Good night. So here's what I tell. I work with teenagers, and men are victimized. I don't want to say as much. I don't know. They're victimized.
I don't know either. Yeah, I'm not going to.
I don't have statistics on anything, but I know
probably women more. You're probably right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, women have the groups that have been victimized are women, children, elderly, and animals. Those are the things. That's the things that are the least, that have the least power. Okay.
And it's about weakness and strength. And
exactly.
So if you took all those out, you'd have the weaker men. Go ahead. Sorry.
Here's what I tell my kids, and I couch it when we talk about slavery, because everybody thinks that slavery has ended.
Yeah, well, it runs on slavery.
Slavery is still alive and well. Okay, we don't have African Americans as slaves. We don't have the plantation types of slaves. but there is a sex industry that runs in this country. I don't know to the extent of it, but I know that there's sex slaves. I don't know if they were kidnapped or they're trafficked through the United. I don't know exactly how all that works, but I know because
all the above.
The church that I belong to in California used to work. You know, we had people that did that. That was their ministry. They worked with that stuff. So slavery still exists, and you know the thing is, how does a person become a slave? Because it wasn't just Africans that were slaves. Slavery has existed since the beginning of time. Well, how do you become a slave? You become a slave by not having the power to overcome your aggressor. And so anybody that doesn't have that power to overcome their aggressor, whatever that intention behind the aggression is, whether it's having a bunch of men hide out in a bush to jump you while you're on a date or whatever, you know, that's where you are weak. There are people out there that are predators. They're male and they're female. They prey on whatever it is that they prey. They have specific people that they target and they prey on. And that's predatory.
People are hackable.
You know, and traditionally, those groups have been women, children, elderly, and animals, because those are the groups that have traditionally had the least voice, that were the weakest in society. Women, I don't care how strong you are as a woman, women do not have the bone and muscle mass that the typical male has. And so it's just, we're physically not as strong as men are, you know, and I don't give a shit who you say you are or what you think you are. You may be a badass woman, and I've seen some badass women out there, but those are not the norm. And, you know, I don't know, but the tide has turned on that because women are now more aware of things and they're becoming a lot more aggressive. I feel like men are becoming a lot more girly men.
That's for sure.
Huh?
Plastics, I said that's for sure. Plastics in the testicles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, not just that, but I just feel like there's just this
just joking.
Feminizing of our men are becoming, and I'm not saying
it's lower testosterone. Go ahead.
I'm not saying that men shouldn't be more in tune with their feelings and things like that. But
those are the men that abuse, though. Men that are more masculine and have more testosterone are the men that are the leaders that you want, not the like the whole. So do you think that all masculinity is toxic, or if there's a situation, because masculinity is a good thing? Toxic masculinity is where a man.
Masculinity is toxic. There are certain elements within masculinity that are toxic. Like, one of the things that kills me for men is that more men commit suicide. The rates of suicide. I've looked at suicide rates for the last 30 years. And the number one thing that kills men from the age of 18 to, I can't remember, like 50, 60 something years old is suicide. More men die by suicide. If we're not looking at heart attacks and strokes and car accidents and things like that, the thing that kills men outside of health conditions is suicide. And that's because men are socialized to be a certain way. And that bothers me. I think we need a happy medium in there where men feel safe to be able to have feelings and to say, I'm scared, or I don't have all the answers, or I'm not as emotionally strong as everybody wants me to be, or whatever it is that drives suicide rates in our male populations. I'd like to see that. That to me, that's toxic. I'd like to see the elements of toxicity that are detrimental to men's mental health change, while men hang on to being masculine. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense totally, but I like I don't know if it's necessarily pushback, but my view on it is different because I look at it as men and women have a level of toxicity that can show, and that has been not necessarily a natural trait, but maybe a trait of the power dynamic being sort of fluctuating, and which may be not necessarily in a good way. What I
Yeah.
mean by that is that we're finding out. Look at Sweden, for example. They actually have the most. I forget the terminology, but they allow women to do anything they want, job wise. They're the most free to do whatever they want, any man's job. Um, and now I might be off a little bit on this, but the whole point is that they found out that women overwhelmingly still want to do more feminine jobs. And over here, we are sort of like propagandizing women to sort of, shove the round hole in the square peg in certain things. We need, like, we look at numbers and we say we need more women in this field. It's like, well, did women say they applying and not getting in, or is it we're going backwards and saying, hey, why don't we have more, like this weird number, like percentage thing, like with DEI and all this stuff? It doesn't make sense. It's not real. It's not what people are actually asking for. But I think letting women do whatever they want is great. I don't think we should sort of like pressure them into doing things that we think that they should be doing. You know what I mean? Like with propaganda, like, hey, and that, okay, so back to what your point is with men, the thing that connects the two is that now men are not being sort of used as their primary function anymore, which was you could go religious, head of household, but more, I'm thinking more primal and nature wise. They were the provider. They were the, meat shield from predators. They were they had to protect. They were the protector. And nowadays you have alarms, you have guns, you have women don't necessarily need us for the roles we were traditionally for. And men, maybe we're not cut out to be in an office cubicle, eating donuts all day, becoming pudgy and just like a blob of nothingness. Like that's what's killing us. That's what's making us sort of out of sorts, and we don't know how to handle that. And so sometimes that's where you have those cases where men, they overstep, or they have when we have like, what is it, like bits of rage and all these things that we talk about. Like the women have the similar situations, but not as often. Like the only one that comes to mind is like Lorena Bobbitt or Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden took an axe. Creative says no way. So I'm sorry, but what were you? What's up, Matthew? Yes, in the last 100 years.
Well, here's what I say about things. I think that here's the deal. There's always a pendulum, and I think we've talked about pendulums in the past. There's always a pendulum with stuff. And so, I grew up in the 80s, and that was a real period of time where women were really starting to go, okay, so we can do this. How do we make it happen? And really started working hard on having equality in whatever. And I think for me, if I were inclined to want to be a firefighter or fly a fighter jet, or what are traditionally be a construction worker or whatever, that should be my prerogative to choose, just the same for a man. Like if I want to do that and I physically want to put my body through that or whatever, if that's how
I handle it, yeah,
express myself through that kind of work, then I should be allowed to do that. Nobody should be told you can't do that because you're a woman.
But what if you can't handle the job physically? Should we reduce the job's requirements?
I don't think the requirements for the job should be reduced. You either put up or you shut up.
What about the military, though? So
I think that's the way it goes with any job.
The military has different requirements.
I understand that. You have to be fit for duty with whatever job you have. If you're framing a house, if you go to work in construction and you're a house framer, then you need to physically be able to go in and carry your weight. And there's some women that can do that, and there's some that can't. I wouldn't want to do that. That's hard on your body. I don't even like it when men have to do that. It makes me sad.
Some men can't even reach requirements. Yeah, but I'm just saying. I think we agree. If they, but honestly, a lot of fields have changed, have given lower requirements in order to bring women in order to make it look like it's all about optics. That's my point. Is like some women are getting hurt because of this. Think about the women here. Not like I'm not thinking about this from I'm a man.
That's their choice. Like, if they're going into a field and they're getting hurt, that's their choice. People have a choice in what they do.
That's true. That's true. Now I think traditionally the reason, and I want to say let's just be nature about it. Women are the only creature that can make humans. So we want to keep them safe, sort of like think about it, the caveman with the cave, like you're going to keep the woman in the cave while you go out and, kill the bear because of nature. Like you don't want the woman out there pregnant with your kid, killing the bear while you're at home, like sweeping up and you know what I mean? Like it just makes sense. Now that is all sort of been out the window. Not everywhere. There's plenty of like tribes out in the world. There's plenty of like real situations where it's probably still true. Like if you're able to nurse, maybe you're one of the only women in the tribe that's able to wet nurse and like this and that. Like there's all these reasons why you're so much more crucial and so much more critical to keep safe. And that's the other reason that we used to have men so like what is it, the top 1% of men like have like their choice of like 90% of the women or something like that. It's because of that dynamic of looking up to a man who is able to provide so like overwhelmingly more than like 90% of other men. And that's maybe it's top 20%. Anyway, my point is we have wars where like so many men die, but we're still here because it only takes one man to have, like can get how many women pregnant. And that's why. And so, I think that's partly where some of that comes from. But at the same time, it became a sort of animosity. It became like I don't know if macho was the thing. I'm thinking like old school 1800s. I'm thinking where a man may have said some things like, woman, you stay at home. Sounding all like the trope that we're talking about, but maybe in their head it's really because their mind is like, it must stay safe. I must keep, so there was that dynamic. I think men just didn't know how to be like, we didn't know for hundreds of years, thousands of years, we didn't know how to sort of have that softer conversation with the wife versus, okay, I'm out of the cave now. It's time for man time. Like, and also some women most women do not respect a man who is too soft.
Hell no.
Crying all the time. Oh, but my feelings. You didn't listen to the feelings. Like that's going to lose her all day. And so that's where we're coming. Men are being brainwashed on the other side to be more about our feelings, where that's making us lose respect. And so in the same sense, women are being propagandized to like be the ultimate man. Like every woman can take out 100 men if they just do a training montage, they're good to go. And it's like, girl, like trust me, you gotta like there are plenty of men that can't do half the shit that they put these women through on some of these like movies and stuff. I always love when it's done right. Like look at Sigourney Weaver, in Alien. Like there are some really badass women roles. Don't get me wrong, if it's done in the right way. But don't give Scarlett Johansson, a 4-foot something, the ability to take out like 10 aliens that are like 8 feet tall. Like, come on, like she's just a regular person, and that's she has like super like spy abilities where she can like do karate. Like, come on, no kind of karate. Like they've already proven a lot of this, and so it's become a propaganda in both directions. And I think that's what's really causing this like rift. We want to go, women, men, and it's like no, like we're both being
I think what they're trying to do, like with media like that, because like I have discussions with my 40-year-old friend that still plays with action figures, collects them and plays with them. And he gets all pissed off about, well, that's not how it's supposed to be, or these gender roles and stuff like that. They're trying to give everybody a vision of themselves. And what I mean by that is that when you look out in the world, if you're a Black person and you're looking out there on media, whatever it is, and you don't see other Black people and all you see are white people or something else, and you don't see yourself, you don't have a vision for what you can be. You don't have a vision for that dream. And so, our media is doing that. They're doing these things so that people can get a vision for that. That
So you think that's you buy into that that people have to see their color represented in things in order to feel like they can.
I think the vast majority of people do, and here's why. Most people are visual learners. People are visual. And so concepts and stuff like that are a lot of the times are lost. People are visual, hands-on, experiential learners. And if they're not seeing themselves out there in the world, if they're not seeing people like they are out there, then there's nothing there to represent who they are out there in the world.
I don't believe that. How can you possibly do that and like be fully? You can't do that. Like I could never possibly. If I let's look at. I was talking about Sweden earlier. Don't the Dutch have like wooden shoes or whatever? I can look at that and appreciate it and say, man, I could try something like that. Without seeing me in those people. Okay, they're white. So let me think of let me look at any tribal race that's not white and say, hey, I've done plenty of things out in the woods as a kid, imagining myself as whatever, Last of the Mohicans, whatever, man. I'm out in the woods. I'm throwing a stick thinking it's going to stick into the tree like a spear. I'm about to do it. We definitely have the ability to that. How do you think we adapt to other people's culture? There's no what you're saying there's no way that can be possible. Like you're sort of we're going to reverse there. You can't do that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you ever watch what do you watch on TV?
I watch actually Japanese anime. I don't see a lot of me in that. Actually, I watch tons of Japanese anime, to be honest.
Do you ever watch like network TV, like NBC, CBS, Fox, like
God, no.
shows like Yellowstone, Game of Thrones?
No, I actually watch a program that's called Popcorn Time, and I can watch some of those things if I want. But for the most part, I avoid. There's so many like really highly propaganda. I watch some of the stuff, but I don't watch it all. No, I watch I did just see Godzilla versus King Kong. That was awesome.
I challenge you to watch for a month. Watch BETV. Watch a network.
I've seen plenty of that.
Watch nothing but Black TV.
Okay.
For a month, and then come back and have a conversation with me.
Well, I lived with a Black woman for 4 years where she watched mostly that, so I think I have plenty of. Let's see, Real Housewives of LA. Let's see, real basketball women of what?
I'm not talking reality TV, dude. I'm talking
that's
about
on BET,
where it's not just like reality TV.
That's a lot of it.
The sitcoms are all about Black people.
Okay, I used to watch Family Matters. I used to love Family Matters. Steve Urkel, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but you watched that. You watched that along with what other sitcoms that were all white?
Well, let's see.
The token Black TV show.
Oh, the all white ones like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I'm talking watch a network.
Okay.
Watch a network that is nothing but Black people. You don't.
Why?
white people, because you will get a totally different perspective and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because when you sit there and you watch, like there's things within Black culture that I can't relate to because I'm not Black. There's things that I can because we're all human beings. But there's things that I can't relate to because I'm not a Black person and I don't understand it from a cultural perspective.
So you were saying because you are not into it, that the white people are probably not into it?
Huh?
You're telling me that you're okay. You're saying that I should watch it because I probably am not, I probably couldn't understand it because you didn't understand it?
You can't understand it. I'm just saying that when I watch, I'll watch, there's certain Black TV program. There's certain channels because I have IPTV. So there's certain channels that I'll get into, like OWN has a lot of Black programming. It's not exclusively Black programming, but I think about it and I'm like BETV, like why would there be a channel, a TV channel that it is exclusively catering to a certain ethnicity?
It's racist.
It isn't racist.
It sure is.
No, it isn't.
That's racism.
It is not racism. How is it racist?
Because you can't do it with any other race. Because you can't think about that's the litmus test. If there was a white television channel only, that would be racist, correct?
But
am I wrong? Yes or no?
Wait a minute. Now let me come back at you. Predominantly through history of television, the programming has been white.
Because that were the most people here. That was the highest population.
Predominantly cater to white people.
Okay. Was that racist, you think?
I think it speaks to the majority culture. But here's the thing, is that you have all of these people of color that are watching these shows and they don't see themselves in that.
So, but you're living through you're giving them the soft bigotry of low expectations right now. That is a different type of racism. Well, they're different than me. They just don't get it.
They are different, and
you're like imposing onto them the I don't know, the inability to succeed because they can't see themselves in our culture. Like that's like you're not in their head. So how could you say that they just can't do it?
It's a psychological fact, dude. Like there have been so many studies on that kind of stuff.
All right,
that's why they have made a concerted effort to bring in more programming of blended kinds of situations.
Yeah, it's DEI and it's racist.
The reality of what we experience is, at least nowadays, maybe back in the 50s or something, prior to the civil rights movement, things were a lot more segregated. But, that's why they bring into that. That's why you're starting to see some of these like superhero guys are gay. Like my friend Michael gets all pissed off because they made one of the superheroes as gay. And one of them
was the breaking down of our culture.
Now a female. And it's because they're bringing in that experience for other people so that little girls can see themselves as a superhero. I
can prove it. I can prove it's not right now. I can tell you how. They could create, there's thousands of characters they haven't even tapped yet. Why did they have to take ones that are already established and change their gender or race or whatever? That is not for little kids. That's not for anyone's good. That is strictly to try to tear apart and try to dismantle our culture so that we don't know what's up or down. That's Rulinsky's rules for radicals. That is exactly the part of the playbook in order to destroy a country from the inside. We had Coach in the background. I was just waiting to bring him up, but
who?
It said Coach. He wanted to come up and refute some of our points, but guys, listen, anybody listening right now, I hope you're, take it all with a grain of salt. Everybody, this is just air moving from my mouth across the microphone. It's all it is. It sounds just like Dr. Heath says every day on the mental health rewind or mental reboot. What is it called? Shit, it's the lunchtime thing. But he does a space on X. Love you, Dr. Heath. He talks about it every time, and they're just sounds moving across air to this microphone. So I hope everybody out there can try to expand your thinking on things. And Kim, we could talk all night, I think, about it, but I don't know if Coach is coming back, but I want to do this spin, and we're over the 2 hours now.
One of the things that we have in this country, based on our Republican form of democracy, is the marketplace of free idea, and that's what moves a democracy, is the ability to have that free thought and the exercise of free thought and ideas, that exchange of ideas and possibilities and, whatever, whether you agree with them or not.
That's why I like the diversity in thought, not diversity just like to check a box because it's a different race. Like there are people of, like, we already accuse people of certain races to be like of other races, like a black person being an Uncle Tom or the whitest person, or like this and that. People do this already because of how they act, not because of their color. And this is my whole point: is diversity in thought is not about how someone looks; it's about how they act and think. And that's we're getting away from that. We're checking boxes on percentage of women, percentage of this color and that color. Like, it's just not, it's not good for that diversity. That's my whole point. I think you're right with the fact that there's definitely ties to bad things in our history, but to your point about slavery still going on, I didn't know that was the way you were going to go. I just did again, Matt. Here you go. So I didn't know that was where you were going to go. I was thinking how, we have Uyghur Muslims in China that are literal slaves right now, and like literal old school slaves. Like we still get our products made by slave wages. The pennies that people get made in some of the, or get paid in some of these countries to make the stuff that literally makes the world go around. Like, America could not produce everything that we actually consume, like all, not just food, but like all the items and products and stuff that we make or that we buy from all over the world. We couldn't do it without slave labor, and it still happens today all over the third world and China.
Yeah. Well, Russia's huge, has slavery too. They have sex slaves over there.
Well, they sell women, the brides, the mail order brides. I mean, that's
a long time. A lot of women that are sold into brothels, whorehouses.
But my question is it possible to not run the world on this? Because I feel like the power dynamic we were talking about between genders is still a thing between people in general. So we got Coach coming up here. I think he's going to give us some of his thoughts. What's up? What's up, Coach?
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, snap. Do we have pants on?
I do. I don't have a shirt on, though.
Okay. So, doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing tonight?
Not bad. We're learning to just, be able to soak in opposing views. That's what this show's all about. I think we love to disagree, but I really I know that you have some opinions on this. I don't know if you talked to Kim all that often. I think you did come up once, maybe. Do you remember him, Kim?
I don't.
You ever talk to Matthew? Okay.
I don't think so.
Matt, before you give me a bunch of high mighty opinions, I'd like you to put the cigarette down and just like throw it away. Maybe eat, just like pour some water on it first, and then just crumple the whole pack up for me.
Yeah, I probably should, but with the stress I've been dealing with here lately, I'm probably gonna keep smoking.
Stop by, and I'll give you a dab, brother.
Oh yeah.
Or wait, do you live around the area still? You don't need to tell me the details, but okay.
Yeah, I live in Peoria. Yeah.
Yeah, Joe remembers him. Joe remembers you. Okay, in the comments here. But yeah, that would be an interesting interview because I actually have set up some more in studio equipment for people in the studio here, so it's going to be good. It's hard to quit. I know, guys. I know. Listen, my mom has oxygen tanks in multiple rooms of her house, so that's why I get on people like like Matt here. That's why I do this. It's out of love. Like, it's not about, I don't know anyone that has an oxygen tank in their elderly that only smoked cannabis. Like, I'm not going to say cannabis is good for your lungs. It's probably not, but I don't know anyone that's like gotten lung cancer from cannabis. Am I wrong about this, guys? I wonder.
No, I have not found anybody who has actually received, lung cancer.
Asia, what's up?
But what I will say is that, based upon what you guys have been talking about here recently in regards to this cultural understanding between white, black, and all this other wonderful stuff, my question to her would be, why is it so negative for white people to embrace their culture, but at the same time we have to adhere to this woke ideology that we're experiencing right now when it comes to Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all this other bullshit? Why is it that we can't actually find pride in ourselves?
So before
let
Kim
me ask you a question.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Culture. Define white culture.
That's what I was going with it.
Because I'm going to tell you right now.
I will say right now that white culture is based upon what we understand to be Western Christian culture. It's based upon Christianity. United States of America was literally built upon Christian values. And we want to sit here.
Jesus, though? Why did we change Jesus to a white guy? Why do you think that happened?
Well, I can tell you right now why that happened. And it happened back in Italy. There was this wonderful pope, which I don't agree with at the time. His name was Borgia. Borgia was the last name, but Cesare was his son. And they went ahead and did a lot of things at the time where his father decided that he wanted to implement his son's picture to be the vision of Jesus. Now, that's wrong. It's not right. It's not right, because Jesus was a Middle Eastern man, not a white European. And so I will agree with that in certain contexts, but the fact of the matter is, I'm sorry, what?
It started it up. That's what kicked it all off.
It is. It really is. And when Cesare was the son of the Pope at the time, he forced all of the images to be changed to suit that feature. Does that negate the whole entire faith? I don't think it does.
No, but I'm just saying that's why maybe that maybe one of the reasons that it kind of got sort of homogenized a little bit as a religion. Now, it's not. I mean, we know that plenty of other cultures, other colors have Christianity as a primary, like in Africa, but it was probably placed there by us, maybe. I think a lot of cultures tried doing it. It was kind of like a board game, like we want our culture everywhere, but I think a lot of people tried this, but Christianity won out, I think. I don't know. But then within that, we have how many different sects of Christianity? Like, it's insane.
We don't want to. I mean, if you want to get into the details of that, I mean, we can look at the facts.
We were just talking the culture wise, but sorry, you can go back to. I wanted to make sure you got in your opinions from our earlier conversation. I keep bringing you off. I keep pulling you away. Go on back. I'm sorry.
So when we look at the original culture of Christianity, all right, it started back in 33 AD when Jesus spoke to Peter and said that you are the rock of my church, right? And when he said that you are the rock upon which I will build my church, he handed them keys of the heaven and earth. It was that simple. And from there, all the apostolic understandings of the Christian church came from the Middle East. Like literally, Jesus was born in the Middle East. He was born a Nazarene. He was from Nazareth, and
Nice.
ultimately, when you come down to the precepts of what's going on right now, we're looking at the difference between reality and facts based upon some kind of misinterpretation of what we now understand Christianity to be. And when it comes to Jesus himself, we have to look at the Council of Nicene, right? And when the Council of Nicene was actually created, it literally, they sat down in like 300s, like 300 AD. This was 300 years after Jesus died on the cross. And they put together the Catholic faith, right? And from there, okay, the Catholic faith existed and was dominant until about 1600 AD. And that's when Martin Luther decided to go ahead and go against the church and split the church, which was a schism, you know. It was the second one of the entire Catholic faith. But that schism, which was a break within the Catholic Church, that created 40,000 different denominations of Christianity. Before, there was one, the Catholic faith. And the Catholic faith was actually, if you look at the word Catholic from Greek terminology, it means universal.
Wasn't it Roman Catholic, or was that secondary? Or was that
originally the Catholic faith originated in the Middle East, where Jerusalem was. That's where Jesus handed the keys to Peter, Saint Peter, who was the first bishop of the Catholic Church, right?
Timothy.
Yeah. So when you're looking at the facts of the matter, right, we can sit here and say all damn day long that, you know, Christianity is like non-denominational and, you know, there are a bunch of Protestants and blah, 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 blah. But it originated in Catholicism, right? And from Catholicism, in the 1600s, Martin Luther decided to go ahead and create a schism within the church, which, again, was the second schism. That schism itself created 40,000 different denominations of Christianity, which is now what we understand to be Protestantism. So you have Protestants that happened in the 1500s. Before that, you had two different churches. You had Orthodox Christians and you had Roman Catholic Christians. And the terminology of Christian means to be Christ-like. That means you have to sit there and you have to follow the true teachings of Christ himself, right? So when we're looking at the reality of history, it all started with the Catholic Church. Then it split in about 1020 AD to the Orthodox and the Roman Catholic Church. From there, it went to Protestantism in the 1600s, where they went ahead and got rid of about 12 or 13 books from the actual Bible and created Protestantism. From there, we have 40,000 different religions or 40,000 different denominations of Christianity that, when we look at the facts, that's not where it originated from. We have to look at where it originated from, and that is the Catholic faith, plain and simple. Now, when we're looking at feminism and all these other different dynamics upon which she's kind of talking about, we have to look at the facts that
Kim. Her name's
feminism.
Kim.
What's that?
Her name's Kim. She's here with
Kim?
us.
Okay, Kim. So
you
Kim,
can't see this, can you, on your phone? If you turn your phone sideways, we might get a little bigger for you.
All right, there you go. All right, so Kim, when you're looking at feminism, feminism actually is originated in Satanism as a whole. And this is actually depicted in the book called Occult Feminism, The Secret History of Women's Liberation. It was written by a woman named Rachel Wilson, who literally sat down and studied from ancient Samaria to where we are right now. And she understands where all these concepts and dynamics come from. So when you look at feminism as a whole, right? If you look at the early suffragettes wanted to literally destroy Christianity. They wanted to break apart the family. They wanted to destroy the nuclear family. They didn't believe in monogamy because when you look at the concepts of what they're talking about, when it comes to feminism, first, second, and third wave feminism, you're looking at the concepts that these women felt that the only way they could have independence and freedom from the quote unquote patriarchy was to destroy everything the patriarchy stood for. And if we look at today's stats and standards based upon statistics, all feminism has done has destroyed our culture, our families, our religion, and everything else that goes along with it. So I don't see any benefit whatsoever in feminism. I don't see any benefit in feminism at all whatsoever. So if you can give me a valid argument that states that feminism is a positive thing, I'll argue with you. But outside of that, I don't believe even women. I don't even believe women should vote.
Hold on now. Are you lumping in women's rights with feminism? Because I think there was definitely a light to be shown on not just women, but post-slavery minorities and children. All these things that, and I've talked about this many times, and it's hard for me to put it in words without just explaining it. But the weird thing about humans and our society, and I think all societies, there's a problem that becomes aware. Like we become aware of a problem, and then we create something to fix said problem, like a committee or a group of people, an army, whatever it is, and that thing gets so big that it then becomes too big and becomes corruption, right? So think about child labor laws, right? Well, when do we start having kids emancipating themselves from their parents, and also like crying, that their parents touched them in bad places when it didn't happen, and all this stuff happened because that was the sort of the over corruption of the movement, where going away from child labor, 20 hours a day, we had bad practices. Think of like the Better Business Bureau, how great that was when we had a way to report companies that had bad practices. Nowadays, I don't even think we need unions because of how easy it is to put it out there over the information ways to show people what's happening with these behind the scenes, these companies, people with their, whistleblowers. I'm just saying, I'm equating the feminism problem with similar issues with what we have with other sort of movements, right? Look at LGBTQ, like the AAIP, RRQL, like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that's not because, we always needed it to be that big. It's like, no, it's because it's a movement that then wants to continue feeding itself. Just think of government programs where they say, if you don't spend every dollar, then your program is going to get reduced. Well, what do? They spend every dollar and they say, we need more. We need more. We have to have more. Same thing happens in hospitals. It's like a survival instinct almost, but then it becomes corrupt. So what do we call that? Is that a human existence, you guys? Is that let's take it out of the, let's not beat each other up about it, because it happens in almost everything we do. And you could take all women off the planet and you would still have this problem within men where this similar thing happens, where you have weak men.
You would not actually. You would not have the same problem.
You'd have more violent situations or answers to the things. And maybe, yes, you're right. Violence can solve a lot of problems. Let's be real.
Yeah. Authority is what actually dictates the reality that we live in. So when we're looking at the concepts of the society that we live in right now, we got to dive deep. And the things that I would have to tell you to dive deep in would probably break your community standards, so I couldn't actually say them. But what I can say is there's a special group of people.
We're having a discussion, Nora. That's
right. So there's a special. Well, no, I'm talking about like literal community standards where you would get banned.
I was responding to this comment. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. So basically what I'm saying is that there's a special group of people who actually run every fucking thing. We can call them the Cha-Ching brothers. We can,
Illuminati,
yeah, I think you get the understanding of that.
Koch brothers.
But yeah, well, there's a certain group of people who run everything. And if you look
BlackRock,
at
State Street, and Vanguard. Go ahead.
say what?
BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Well, you got to look a little deeper than that. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Who are the CEOs of those companies?
They own each other.
Well, no, I mean, I want you to look at the ethnicity of the people who run those companies and then the people who hold the highest positions of power in our government right now. I want you to literally look it up and find out who they are. I can't say who they are because you'd get canceled right now. But what I am telling you is that they all have a very Kabbalistic understanding of how they want the world to be. And one of the main things that they do is they push feminism, they push homosexuality, they push transgenderism, they push a bunch of different concepts that break apart the very culture of our society right now. And if we look at the base foundation of our culture and society that this country was built upon, it was built upon family, it was built upon values, it was built upon Christian values. And if you look over time, you'll see that Christian values have been removed from school, politics, and everyday life. And when you do that, what are we left with?
Less pedophilic priests, I guess.
There are some pedophilic priests. Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay.
Even in Christianity, like, look, man.
But hold on. Hold on. Let's look at the facts real quick, because there are more female pedophilic teachers in today's educational system than there's ever been in the clergy, and that's facts.
Where do you get that from?
Statistics based upon the Center of Human Health and Statistics Center.
Well, so, I would venture to say there are probably less priests than there are teachers. I'm just guessing on that one. So that's probably just a overwhelming percentage of numbers. But I'm not, I don't know.
Yeah, there are far more or less priests.
Okay, then let me give you this. There's probably more pedophilic men than there are women.
Wrong.
You don't? You think?
That's wrong. That is wrong. Yes. Unfortunately, as feminism grows, women are drawn more to the concept of masculinity to be more dominant in today's society. And as they are drawn to masculinity and become more dominant, what they want are more submissive beta males. And to do that, you have to find a younger male that is more pliable to your view and your mindset. So while the majority of women pursue jobs within nursing, teaching, child health care, and all these other different aspects, it also gives them a direct position to be able to take advantage of that and molest young boys. So if you look at the actual statistics for what they are, there are more cases of pedophilic women overall through the reporting documentation of counselors and whatnot than what you can actually see out in the real world. Because most young boys are not going to sit there and be like, well, I was taken advantage of by my teacher.
We're usually pretty eager.
Well, yeah, most young men are very eager to pursue a sexual situation in any regard that they can get, because 1 out of 3 men are sexually celibate in today's world. So men don't get the opportunity to have sex as much as women do, which is why women can actually use their authority in these positions to subject these young boys and actually take advantage of them in the process.
I mean, I blame porn for a lot of these issues. Men that don't have the capability to exude the type of a presence that they should in order to attract the woman they want, or the type of woman they want. That's a lot of that is on us. And also, let's be real, guys. Let's take gender out of it. The chemicals, the stuff in our food and our water is lowering testosterone. It's creating a situation where we are not what we were previously. We were changing in ways that we couldn't determine 100 years ago, in such wild ways, with all the technology, all of the health and medical issues. Remember when the hole in the ozone was such a big deal? Like
1990s.
About that
the 1990s,
that's not
bro.
even a thing anymore. So then, like now, it's like it's always something else. And so like I respect your passion, man. But you definitely are you creating a visceral reaction to some of the people watching, because I think you're so abrasive about the way that you bring it about. Like you might have facts, but maybe like we would want to see them. Like,
hey, look, man. Hey, uncomfortable truths over comfortable lies, and that's how I operate. That's how I operate.
Tact. Like, I actually know a lot of the similar things that you're talking about, but for one, this show's about your experience on the topic. Two,
no, I'm speaking on statistical facts for the majority of the time.
Well,
I don't speak on personal experience because I'm an exception to the rule. I don't live the same way most people do. And so because I'm an exception to the rule, I had to actually do the work and study to find out what the generalities were overall. And the only way to do that was to actually put myself outside of the spectrum of what most people experience, which is why, as a dating coach, when I sat down with both men, women, and couples, I found out over a long term that the concept of evolutionary psychology was what these groups used to subjugate us to these concepts that we now understand. When it comes to homosexuality, transgenderism, and all these other different concepts, these are all instituted by one group, by one fucking group and one group only. And the whole problem with that is that we don't see it. Say what?
My point is the way that you're not going to change people's minds. Like you might, in person is going to got to be a whole different feel when you're talking to somebody, because guys, I don't know if you're, Matthew's been on a few times, and he is a dating coach in real life. So he's got real life experience, which is the point of this show, to bring perspective. Now, when you start to throw out facts, quote facts, that's the point where we got to let's stop. Let's look it up. What website exactly? What place? What publication? Because that's where you start losing people. When you say it's a fact that this is a thing, if you can't find where to pull that up. So what I do in that case is I say, I don't know. I don't remember where I read this, but these are the numbers that I think are true. And you can say things in a tactful way, bro. Like, you got to realize that people need to be. I don't think people need to be their hands held, but if you want to try to change minds, if you want to try to, be a positive influence on people that maybe aren't awake to the reality, you have to do it in a way that's going to not be that's going to actually get them to maybe think, oh, you know what, maybe what he said, has some merit. But you got to realize when you're being, abrasive to the point where they're just up in arms, you know what I mean?
So that goes back to my theology of fuck your feelings. And that's where I'm at with that. I'm like, I don't really deep down, I don't give a fuck about people's feelings. I give a fuck about facts.
Yeah, I get that, but you still can be tactful. That doesn't mean you have to be the opposite way. If I say fuck your feelings, I don't have to say it. I could just think it and be like, well, let me just give you the facts, and I could be dry about it, instead of saying, oh yeah, but don't you think
it doesn't work for most people. You have to shake them out of their fucking reality.
Shock does work.
Yeah,
but that
I mean, literally, you have to get to a point where you hit them with so many fucking facts and reality that they wake up to what is going on around them. And that's the problem that we're having right now in today's society, is that a lot of people don't wake up to the reality of what's actually going on right now. And
let me ask you this.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, let's get it out of. Let me pull you out of your comfort zone for a moment,
all right,
and think globally for a second. Do you think that with how connected our planet is amongst each other, companies and global governments and interests, do you think there's actually, do you think it's all just show and all just rigged, like all the wars that happen, all of the actual, the quote, like the conflicts that happen? Do you think that there are actual fights for power, or do you think there is a sort of overarching, elitist group of, let's look at real groups like the World Health Organization, the Davos, the World Economic Forum, these groups that meet? Like, do you think we're all just sort of puppets on a string, and there's actually any real fight amongst? Because think about, that's what you're talking about, the breakdown of our society, but I believe that's a lot having to do with outside forces. A lot of countries really want to see the downfall of us. It's kind of like everyone wants to see a hero fall. The whole the trope of like that people really love to see. They love to see a hero get built up, and then they love to see him fall for some reason. I don't know what that, there's a whole like psychological thing behind that. But I think the whole world is just sort of waiting for us to be knocked off, I don't know if it's just part of a game, a larger, like, rigged sports game. But it does tie into what we're talking about here, because a lot of these concepts that you're very adamant against, which I, for the most part, understand and a lot of times agree, that they are partly a list of rules. They call it Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals, right? A list of rules on how you break apart a society without going to war with them.
So you're pushing me into like some deep shit right now, and if we can like divulge that in this platform without you getting banned, I'll talk about it. But
we'll try to be tactful. That's all I ask. We could probably.
There's no way for me to actually explain this tactfully.
The big guys do it. Look at some of these bigger podcasters. They talk about some of these topics. But let's actually. Well, I think we're getting way off into the weeds. I think.
All right. So have you ever heard of like what is considered a Khazarian?
Nope.
Okay.
Is that like an Anunnaki?
No. So if you understand the concept of history, okay, we have to go back to about 700 AD, right? And in 700 AD, there was a group of people called the Khazarians. All right. It was the Khazarian Empire. You can look it up. You can Google it. You can do your fucking thing. The Khazarian Empire basically was a pagan culture. It was a Satanist culture. They focused basically on child sacrifice, child pedophilia. They were about as evil as you can fucking get. And what they would do is they would go around to all the surrounding fucking nations, right? And they would like literally conquer them and then rape the women, murder the fucking children, and they would decimate that culture. So
That's
all of us
strategy,
around
though.
What?
That's strategy. That's not just like we want to.
No,
be
that's
cruel.
true. That's true. But
Well,
all
not
the
only
surrounding
that- not only that, but you're describing like 90 or more % of the cultures that existed during that time. They were all they all had
well, hold on a second. Let me finish. Let me finish my statement. Okay, so there's a group of Khazarian Jews, okay, that existed at that time. They were in what we understand to be current day modern Ukraine, ironically. And these Khazarian Jews who lived in that group in that area at the time, they were not Khazarian Jews, they were Khazars. And essentially all the surrounding nations, Russia and all the Christian nations around them, told them, hey, look, you can either decide whether or not you want to follow Islam, Christianity, or you can follow Judaism. And from there, okay, we'll have peace with you. But if you don't choose one of these religions because you keep slaughtering all of our family and all of our nations and all of our people and blah, 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 we're going to come in and conquer you. And the Khazars at that time, the king was like, okay, fine. We'll go ahead and we'll convert to Judaism. Okay. And he converted to Judaism based upon the Torah. Okay. Which is the first 5 books of what we understand the current Bible to be. And then what he did was he instituted his pagan religion and his pagan views into that same mindset of Judaism. And he corrupted Judaism and brought in what we now understand, the Talmud. The Talmud, if you look at the Talmud and actually research it properly, the Talmud states that it's okay to go ahead and have sex with a 3-year-old, right? So long as you have sex with a 3-year-old under the age of 3, or at the age of 3 or below. And they go into talking about Gayom and all kinds of different shit within the Talmud. All right, it is a satanic synagogue of Satan that these Khazarian Jews instituted. So then they adopted the fact that they are Jews at that point. They said, we're no longer Khazarians. We are now Khazarian Jews because we adopted Judaism. And we created this entire sect, which actually speaks in the Bible. Jesus speaks about it, that they are the synagogue of Satan. And when you literally look at the scripture and the history, it pairs together. And from there, this sect of Khazarian Jews at that point then spread themselves all throughout Europe and all the surrounding areas, and they were kicked out of 190 different fucking countries for instituting fractional banking and interest that stole the property, land, and all this other shit from all the people. And when the kings realized what was going on, they'd kick the Jews out each and every fucking time, 190 fucking times. It was fucking stupid. So then you look at today, and we look at the CEOs of BlackRock, and we look at the CEOs of Vanguard, and we look at the CEOs of State Street. They're all Khazarian Jews. Same thing within the majority of our government. The majority of the people who run the high levels of our positions of our government are Jewish. It's facts. I don't know how any other way to explain it other than that. And if you look at
they're just like the stereotypes that maybe they're just good with like money and they're good with numbers and they're just good at like business. Like
that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
So let me ask you this: are you saying that is the only race of people that do evil?
No, we all do evil, man. We all fall short of the glory of God, my friend, and that's the facts. That's the truth. But there's only one group that's the synagogue of Satan.
Okay, well, there were plenty of Satan worshipers. There still are today.
Yeah.
Well, let's get out of here, guys. This is we leaped over the shark. We jumped.
I told you.
It's okay. I mean, some things do require some explanation to hear what you're really like, where you're going with in it.
Well, there's an entire documentary based upon facts and historical documents that back up what I'm saying.
I know there's a definite group of people that definitely
it's not a group of people. It's historical documents.
Not everyone believes this. Not everyone believes the historical documents either. Like, let's look at. I mean, I don't even want to get into it, but like the Bible, personally, like it's how many books? Like I don't know.
73 books written over 1,500 years by 40 different authors that literally coincide all with each other. And
I can't find my bill for my water bill from last month. Like I don't like. We're talking 1,500 years with like scrolls and like, oh man, that's another thing altogether for me. But I'm done with this, guys. It's been fun. I do enjoy the rabbit hole conversations. We really didn't even I was trying to talk pop culture some, but we did talk a little bit. But anyway, thanks for coming up.
Talk pop culture.
Oh no, well that's okay. We're already in almost 3 hours. We've got our winner for tonight, and actually, you know what? I'll do another spin on Sunday, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, congratulations, Rose. Let me write Rose down. But Kim, thanks for enduring, and we will see you all on game night, 5:30 Central Time on Sunday.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and head out for the night. You guys have a wonderful night.
Yeah, we're way past we're way past. Whoa. He's like, we're just getting. He was just getting started. Like, all right, that was it was intense, but we're here. We made it. Let's get going. We have him on here and there for some excitement, every now and then. The comments, though, I was keeping up with the comments, and there were some good ones. you guys remember, this is important. Like, we got to be able to like whether or not you agree with someone, like you can't, like you have to be able to listen to it, you know, and that's what is fun. That's why I like it. I made a tweet that was like, all people are intriguing, the good, the bad, the indifferent. Like, without having those people and those different experiences to be able to view from the outside, we would be missing out on so much of life. And part of the tweet was that you whether you're reading, listening, or watching, you're learning stuff, and you're being able to experience things of life that you would have never ever been able to experience within just yourself. That was my whole tweet. But anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Sunday.
Did you spin?
Peace out. I did. What Rose won. I was going to do another spin, but I'll do another number spin on Sunday.
Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Peace.